Good. All right. The captain, here we're ready. So the first order of business is to conduct a public hearing on the harvesting law. So I'd like to call that public hearing to order and ask if anybody would like to comment on this new law that we've got out there for everything. Look at. Rhonda has her hand up.
Yes, hi everyone. I mentioned this at the last meeting when this was brought up. I did read the whole law, and I read it twice, and I thought it was a pretty good law. Only time will tell. The only thing that I felt that was missing, and I said this the last time and I'll say it again, is that there needs to be a time of day by which individuals can log. The DEC has a time. Their time starts at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I think they go till sunset. And I think that's a good time for us to put in the law. And they don't do anything about the days of the week or anything. It's just you can't start before 7, and you need to be done by sunset. And that means that we won't have any people logging at midnight. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Anybody else with comment? Anybody else? How about that? Hearing and seeing no additional comments, we'll close the public hearing on that topic and call the regular meeting to order. There are several possible additions and deletions to the agenda from what was published Friday. I'm not sure how recently you've looked.
Today?
Hmm?
Today?
Yeah, well, the three that I have here for our consideration is an executive session on the purchase negotiations for next door.
Yeah, I can't hear you either.
Can't hear me? The three potential additions to the agenda include an executive session regarding the potential purchase of the property next door, one of the following townhouse. A report on the feasibility of initiating the annual charge for the Beardsley Lane Drainage District, which has been in the works for a long time, and then an update on South Hill Cider. If that was okay to add?
I don't know why we are having an update on South Hill Cider tonight.
Because Susan asked me to.
Oh, okay.
If you don't want to, we don't have to put it on.
I was wondering if there was something that you had that we did. No, that's fine.
I mean, it's not for me to report how it went with, Greg and I met with 3 attorneys with Ag and Markets. And we also met with Steve since the last time we met, and I can update everybody on where we are.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Is that the end of business?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Anything else to add or delete? Okay. Okay, privilege of the floor. Is there anyone here, either in the room or on Zoom land, who would like to address the board on any topic?
Is there nobody?
Oh, yeah, give it a minute. I'm not.
Well, I would like to, but I can give it a minute.
Yeah, we got the usual, just to go a minute for to get the hands up.
Rhonda.
I'm not sure which hand went up first. Why don't you go, Ted? Because
Yep.
Sure. Okay, there we are. Thank you. I'm curious, I have the same question that I asked last week. Could we be updated on the status of the, I guess you would call whatever enforcement action you're taking about the, bad word, but the garbage situation on Nelson Road and elsewhere. I'd be curious to know how it has proceeded. Other than that, I'm glad you're finally getting the timber harvesting law on the record. And as Rhonda said, time will tell whether it's the best one. Thanks.
Rhonda, I think you were next.
Okay, so I did read the special events law, and I do have one thing that I would like to suggest, and that is in one of the sections, let's see, I have it brought up here, called hang on just a second. It's just generally called special event. And it's section B, paragraph B, as in boy. And the one thing that I would suggest that you add is to that paragraph is NGOs or nonprofits, such as the Finger Lakes Land Trust, the Cayuga Trails Club, things like that. They typically have certain special events, and generally they don't charge a fee or anything. It's just a celebration of their work. And so I think that they ought to be listed in here somewhere at the end where it says, including those related to governmental, religious, and school functions, and you could put in NGOs. So that's the only thing that I would suggest. Thank you.
Keith. Mr. Seelan, you have your hand up.
Oh, hi. Am I unmuted? I'm so sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can.
Okay, yeah. Sorry about that. I'm doing this from my phone in the parking lot of the high school because my son is playing in the finals tonight. They made it to the finals for the region. So apologies on the technical glitch. Sorry, I'm not there in person, but I have a few things. I mean, quickly, I wanted to give a quick update. I'm South Hill Cider as well myself. I'm sure Joel might have some of this information already, but I just wanted to let everybody know that we are working conscientiously to receive input from all of our neighbors on the impacts that we have on them. We held a publicly open meeting to all the neighborhood that was attended by at least 22 people. But the primary people complaining chose not to participate, and they've denied to discuss any of their concerns directly with us on how to mitigate. I would like to offer there are organizations that would help mediate a discussion, and I would love to have a mediated discussion with people who are concerned about the impact South Hillside is having. We also canceled last Friday's concert publicly. We just said it was due to unforeseen circumstances or beyond our control or something. But honestly, it was to be nice neighbors. I truly think that we can legally host these events, but I'm trying to be a really nice neighbor, especially because a couple of them just had a baby and I didn't want to disturb them with any sound at all. So that's why we canceled the concert from last Friday. And then we also sent a letter to all the neighbors that we invited to the meeting and mentioned the things that we're trying to do to be nice neighbors, like cutting off the music at 8:30 p.m., measuring decibels to try and calibrate what is an acceptable level and what's not. No longer allowing bands to have their own sound technicians because that can get too loud and out of control. Also, we've acknowledged that some nights have been really what I deem is pretty loud, and I would like it to be less loud. And so we're trying to figure out how to do that. We've moved some music off the stage to make it quieter on the recommendation of one of our next door neighbors. We've reduced the frequency of evenings of amplified music. So just wanted to let everybody know we are conscientiously reducing our impact and seeking more input from neighbors on how to have less impact on them. So I would urge anybody that has any concerns to come to me. Or if you want to use mediation, I'm totally open for that, and I will cover the cost of that, as will other organizations that will help us cover the cost of that. And then in regards to the event law, I'm not opposed to an event law. I think having an event law on the books that everybody, or most people can agree to would be a benefit to the town, because it might decrease some unwanted events, but it would also open a pathway for people to do other creative events that they might, wonder, well, can I do this or can I not do this? It would create a pathway and a system for people to actually hold more events perhaps in this town that could be creative and good for the community. One of my concerns, of course, as a business, we've hosted well over 100 events with well over 100 people over the past 5 years, and only the loudest ones are the ones that have made people unhappy. And so that's why we're addressing the sound in particular. So in terms of the event law, section, I think it's section 1B, where it defines which special events are considered, not considered special events. It mentions an event held on property used for commercial purposes with available parking for such an event. And I guess my question is that where South Hill Ciders events would fall? Because we are an agricultural and commercial enterprise, and we do have available parking for our events. So I guess that's a question to clarify. Yeah, if someone could clarify that when you discuss this later in the meeting, that would be great. Again, thank you to all the town board for your service. I appreciate what you do, and thank you.
Good luck with your son's event.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, they're undefeated. They've only allowed 2 goals all season, so
Wow.
we're hoping for the best.
Like he doesn't need luck.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish over to the floor?
If nobody
Oh,
else,
that's right, you said you
I'd
wanted
like
to
to talk
speak.
just for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I know we're gonna be discussing the thing in a minute. Yeah, so I know we're gonna be discussing the special events law a little later tonight, and I have a number of changes that I would like to propose at that time, but I would like to use the privilege to speak uninterrupted for a proposed, on this proposed law for just a couple of minutes to frame my general feelings about it. It was a hard choice between that or speaking in support of the logging law, which I could have done a moment ago, I guess, but I wrote this before I came and wasn't prepared. So, which I am really excited to discuss tonight, though. Here goes. A gathering of only 100 attendees is not special. It's just a normal day in a healthy community. We should not have an everyday events law in Danby, and I think a law like this one should regulate events of more than 1,000 attendees, not small get-togethers of 100 people. I also feel that there is no reason for any exemptions to a law of this type. If the honest intention is to protect the citizens and environment of Danby from the negative effects of large events, there's no justification to select a handful of communities within Danby for whom these rules won't apply. If we were to leave the triggering number of attendees so low as it's written right now, 100 individuals, then the exemption for weddings, family gatherings, holiday parties, religious celebrations, and graduation parties, which are the activities listed in section 1B exemptions. Those exemptions would be necessary only because gatherings of 100 people are not and should never be considered criminal. So if those are exempt, then only all other small gatherings of 100 people would be criminal without 90 days notice and an approval from the BZA. Does everybody see the problem here? But of course, permits should not be required for weddings, church events, or family gatherings, not because they're specifically exempt from this law, but by the simple virtue that weddings, church events, and family gatherings are not attended by thousands of individuals, and they do not cause any significant or unacceptable disturbance to the town of Danby. Neither would a pride party or a pie eating contest, although neither of those would be exempted, unfortunately.
Oh, sure.
Spontaneity be damned. This proposed law is misguided. As written, it is an antisocial law which criminalizes what is the right of rural citizens across this country to celebrate the best thing in the world, coming together to cultivate and grow and share our love with one another. No one is entitled to a neighborhood without gatherings. You cannot choose for your community that they may not hold small gatherings, and we should not pass a law that likewise interferes with the ability of our community to spontaneously party. Please do not kill joy. And the last thing that I have to say right now is that one major reason churches are exempt from this proposed law is that when people are organized, they are able to effectively fight to protect their rights. To the people of Danby who don't want this law, you need to organize yourselves if you want to defend your right to organize yourselves. Thank you.
Well, we will talk about it when it comes up. Anyone else would like to address the board on privilege of the floor? Okay, moving on. There's no formal correspondence, I believe.
Correct.
Anybody have any announcements?
Either.
Oh, Steve. Greg has his hand up.
Steve has his hand up.
I think he's still there.
No, I think it's
I
from
don't think he ever
before.
put down, did he?
I think he's gone, but his hand remains. Okay. So, no, here seeing announcements, we're on to the minutes of the October 6th meeting. What are you squinting at, Leslie?
I just can't see that far. I can't read names. Never mind, I'll figure it out.
Steve's hand keeps popping up.
When I need glasses, I can see fine.
Went down and
Now
back
you
up.
have it back up.
It's him.
Right,
I don't think he ever took it down.
I think
Well, he's already commented on privilege before anyway, so he doesn't need time remaining.
That's right.
So, minutes.
Is that somebody's
Can you
phone?
stop that Windows update thing?
Your device like that to update?
That's what's dinging at us, I'm pretty sure.
No, that's my phone ringing.
Oh.
Somebody's
I forgot to, but I didn't want it to do.
Outside of activity.
Just-
I think you can just close the window with the X. Yeah. With the X.
Well, I can do okay again.
You don't want to go
Outside of
okay.
like,
Oh, well, whatever,
whatever. So,
that caption's good.
I move we approve the minutes of October 6th.
Second.
Now what we're gonna happen.
You can hit that X up on top of that too.
Joel,
Yeah,
Exit out.
just so you know, Steve Rose said that he has more comments on the special event law, but that he ran out of minutes.
yeah, he did.
You can either write them,
Ew.
write them, or. I don't know.
Well, he could submit them by in writing.
Yeah, that's even better for everybody.
I made a motion. Is there a second?
I seconded it.
Okay. Any changes or are we good?
Nope.
Okay, Mariah?
Connors, Hunter,
Yes.
Stein,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon.
Yes.
Thank you.
Let's see, reports. I believe Dan is here, do you know?
That's not earlier.
Yes.
I'm here.
Yes.
Yes.
Welcome, Dan.
Hello, thank you. Let's see, I have a short thing and a long thing to report about. The short thing is just the status update for the county budget. We are currently looking at a 3.3% increase to the tax levy. That would come out to a $20 increase on the average homeowner in Tompkins County. We have another meeting tomorrow night where we'll take the budget to the next stage. It might change a little bit, but I wouldn't expect it to change a lot. The longer thing I wanted to report about is an update about internet. When I was here at the last month, I told you that I had a meeting the very next day about internet and I wasn't sure what was going to happen. So I wanted to report about what happened there and what I found out. So the Tompkins County has put in an application about a year and a half ago to get broadband internet to every home in Tompkins County. And what we've been told the whole time by everybody involved, by the industry, by the government, by everybody, that fiber is the gold standard. Fiber is the best way to get internet to homes, and that people didn't think that was likely to change over the next few decades. So the the grant programs that we were applying to only allowed you to apply for fiber. They didn't want to waste anybody's time or money installing anything less effective than that. Well, about 3 weeks ago, the federal government changed the policy and they are no longer requiring fiber. And the only thing that they will consider for Tompkins County is what's called licensed fixed wireless. And what that basically is, and I know my terms aren't going to be maybe technically correct, but they're basically radio waves from cell towers, which might sound familiar because that's what Clarity Connect has done all these years when that project started about 12 years ago. And that project at the time was good. It reached a lot of the homes in the county, but it didn't reach many homes in Danby because we have a lot of hills and we have a lot of trees, and those radio waves do not penetrate trees very well and they don't go around hills. And that's why we had the approximately 1,000 homes that still didn't have internet after that program. So it's a real setback, in my opinion, that this is what we're being offered now is licensed fixed wireless. Now, what they did say is that the technology has gotten better over the last 10 years, but nobody could guarantee that this is actually going to work for us. So that's where we're at. Our application is in. They said they're going to make a decision by the end of the year. And if we're approved, they'll take up to 4 years to finish the project. Hopefully it'll be done before then. And that's where we're at.
Wow.
Did they provide you with any numbers for upload or download speeds, like hypothetical speeds?
I don't think so, but I can ask and find out and get that to you.
Thanks.
Any questions for Dan? Thanks, Dan. Oh, wait, Ted's got a question.
Yep, thank you, Joel. I actually had a chat with a company that apparently is going to be providing that licensed fixed wireless. And they did not quote speeds that I could repeat, but if the reliability problems that were experienced with Clarity Connect are overcome, and they did feel that the products they're using are much more robust than the 10-year-old products that Clarity had, I think we would not be foolish to expect much better speeds than was provided by Clarity. I look forward to it. Thanks.
Well, I certainly hope you're right, Ted.
And I hope it addresses the problem we had of access, which Dan alluded to in his presentation. But a lot of us just didn't. The hills were in the way, the trees were in the way. Okay, thanks.
I don't think they'll get around hills, but from the way it was described to me, they will be much more effective with trees.
Okay. Deal with some of the problem. Okay. We have nothing from Keith, right?
Not that I know of.
Yeah.
They've had a busy couple days, haven't they? With the wind and.
Danby wasn't too bad.
No.
I think that's what I've heard, and I've heard that from Jack, that Danby didn't fare too badly with wind.
Good.
Because the fire department goes around too with the trees, so not too bad.
Caroline, good words.
Yep, no.
Mhm. Okay, I think we're good to go on the, there's no transfers, right, Laura?
Yes, there is. I
Good.
sent them. We do have, as before you approve the abstract, we were over budget in the highway department in the health insurance line. That's because there was a position when we started out the year that Keith was not going to fill, and then decided to fill it. So we ended up with some additional health insurance. So we just put in a transfer for us to transfer that amount from the snow removal contractual. We're doing very well in that line and putting it into the health insurance line. We were like $541 overdrawn. I've got enough. We have enough in there in this transfer to cover the last insurance payment with the dental and the medical, so that we don't have to come back and do this again next month.
What was that amount again?
Do I
I've
have
got
it?
it here. It's
You do?
$15,320.
Yes.
So which insurance line is it? Is it health insurance
Health.
or, because I heard multiple.
Health insurance. It
Health
would be the DA 9060.8 would be the line item. And it's we're asking to take it from the DA 5142.4. And Mariah has that for the minutes.
You catch that, but as long as Mariah caught it, we're good.
Yeah, I got it. We're all good.
I move we make that transfer.
Second.
Ready?
Yep.
Connors,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes.
Stein,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon.
Yes.
Thank you.
On to the warrants.
I'll move the general fund abstract 20 vouchers 394 through 409 for $13,158.17. Second.
Look, I just didn't appear on the, oh, there it is. Sorry. And it's good. We ready? Yeah.
Connors,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes.
Stein,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon.
Yes.
Thank you.
Move the highway fund abstract 20 vouchers 195 through 205 for $22,646.28. Second.
You good? Okay.
Connors,
Yep.
Hunter,
Yes.
Stein,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Joel,
Yes.
I know that you were talking about, and of course, that transfer came from that portion of the supervisor's report for the account analysis. Do you want to make mention for the minutes, the acknowledgement of the supervisor's report? Because we also have the supervisor's report in there with all the cash, that cash portion this time. I don't know if you just make acknowledgement. Usually that's what you do, so that it goes in the minutes to acknowledge that the supervisor's report was submitted.
It's in there,
In here? Good.
Thanks, Mariah.
of course.
Good. Thanks.
Thank you, all of you.
Moving on to business, the timber harvest law. I thought it was ready to go. Rhonda mentioned the time of day.
I feel like this is such a good law. I hope that the people who are, regular citizens who have concerns about this just kind of go through it one item at a time and check to see if it actually scares them. Because, I mean, I think it's bulletproof. I think it's a great law that puts no burden on anybody. And, the only people who are going to have to do the minor burden of fill out some paperwork that has like your own name, your own address, your own tax ID, just information that identifies what roads go through your property, what streams go through your property. And you only have to get that in 10 days before you want to do it. And then, you know, unlike the event permitting law that requires 90 days, the town would be getting back to you with an approval or denial within 10 days. And then this doesn't limit any kind of logging. It just requires permits for, if you're going to be doing like more than like 20 cords of wood, which would it be, it would have to be 20 cords of commercial wood. Because if you were to do 10 cords of wood for yourself and 15 more cords, you're still under the law because those 10 cords for yourself didn't count at all because nothing for personal use is covered by this law at all. So I actually, what I would love to hear from you guys is if you're interpreting the same as me with the personal use thing, like, let's say there are 5 Davises who have a big plot of land and they cut down enough wood for all 20 Davises in the area. And there's no money changing hands. It's just like a family with, you know, your son-in-law and your daughter and their family and your mom, and you're hooking them all up with wood from your property. As far as no money changing hands, that's all personal use, right? And
it's not a commercial sale. Right?
yeah, it's not a commercial sale. And I don't know who's got big families, but 20 cords of wood covers like 7 houses that are fully heated by wood. So, I mean, I just don't see how anybody would be affected by this. It's also, if it's for lumber instead of cordwood, it would be like more than enough to fill 2 huge logging trucks. So if you're doing more than enough to fill 2 huge logging trucks for commercial purposes, then you would simply need a permit. Which I feel like, who can argue with that? That's just to protect the roads and the streams, and the law pretty much just talks about protecting roads and streams. It's pretty much all it is. And it's just for commercial and just for large scale commercial. So I feel like if anybody's concerned about it, they should totally just read it. It's like 2 pages and you won't be concerned about it.
4 pages.
4 pages.
It's come a long way. I mean, this is like a 7-year process to get us to this point. And I think, you know, the DEC reviewed it twice. The CEC's gone through multiple drafts. And we've pared it down to what we thought was a reasonable minimum that addressed the primary concern, which is potential impact on our roads and for erosion on the properties that are being logged. And that's mostly through the stream impacts. So I think it's telling that we didn't have the kind of response that we got the first time. We floated a possible version of it and got all kinds of feedback, which was taken into account and is why we are where we are with this one. So I think we're ready to pass it.
I did think that the comment about the time was useful, but I don't see where it would fit in, right?
Joel, you got a question back here?
I do. I'm sorry, I didn't see.
So I believe I heard you say that this really doesn't.
Oh, wait a minute, you need to come up.
Oh, yeah,
with
we
it,
can't hear.
because otherwise.
I understand, I can't hear you guys.
Well, it's not so much us, is that the Zoom audience can't hear unless you're within range of the microphone.
Yeah,
It's not just the film audience.
I'm Brenda Walker, I live on Danby Road here. I believe I heard you say that this really doesn't pertain to anybody. So why do we have a law if it doesn't pertain? to
Well, it
anybody?
wouldn't pertain to regular non-commercial. So
How many commercial properties would be,
But it's private properties that are affected. I mean,
oh, how many private properties that are businesses are logging in this area? Do we have that information?
So do you mean like how many different properties are logged for commercial purposes?
Commercial, yeah.
I don't have it off the top of my head.
no, we don't know, and that's one of the reasons for this law.
So if we don't have that information, why do we have a law?
Well, we don't have any.
So that
So we don't have that information.
So that we have the information. Part of the impetus for doing this is so we have some sort of, basically a registry, so that we know.
So would a registry be more important than a law?
The law provides for the creation of the registry in effect.
And it doesn't.
Saying that if you are somebody, you're an outfit it's going to do the logging, because whoever does the logging is the one who needs to draw the permit.
Say that to me again?
The one who is going to do the logging is the one that draws the permit.
Okay.
So if you're, whoever you are, some logging company, and you've approached like 3 different landowners in Danby to harvest their timber, If
Has
you
that
read
been
that
happening?
trigger.
Yeah.
It's happened.
Yeah,
We've had.
Yeah,
we
we do
actually
have
just
a
had the
fail.
logging done, that we probably would have.
Did you do it before the law went into effect on purpose?
It hasn't, no.
Oh, did you not say that you just had it done?
Do you mean personally or the community?
Yeah.
Probably if we had it done, if this gets passed, my guess is, I don't know, you know how much we had logged, we probably would have needed to get a permit.
If you
I
don't.
mean, we sold the logs, it's all.
So money was exchanged.
Yeah, yeah.
I will say you did also take down a ton of ash.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
And house
and there was some,
in danger.
threatening the house.
There's
We
a,
did get some money for it. We also had a reputable person doing the logging. Danby has had experience with disreputable, folks doing logging, and, causing some real harm, well, the last one was at Putron Hollow. There was a problem on Durfee Hill. There's been some examples of pretty bad business practices by the loggers, not necessarily, not the homeowner, the landowners. But who, some of them were pretty upset about what had happened to their property. So that was some of this. Some of it has to do with the roads. We've had roads damaged. This just holds people liable for damage to the road.
Insurances don't cover.
well,
Yeah,
that's
well,
something
they-
I'd love to
well,
talk about.
The logger would have insurance.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's one of the really good things about this law is that it would require, that you have insurance and that the town of Danby is covered on that insurance, which, the property owner.
the person doing the
Wait, the
The
logging.
person who's doing the logging would need to ensure to cover the road.
The conversation, if you want to stay in the conversation, you need to stay where it can be heard by the minute taker.
Yeah. Pardon.
Well, the minutes are what is the record of the meeting.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's
Well,
why.
I would like to just point out two things to maybe allay your concerns. One would be to check out the exemptions section because there's a very strong, very robust list of exemptions. So really the exemptions really show, there's a lot of redundancy in the exemptions too, meaning that like a lot of activities would be exempt for like multiple reasons. So this law would very likely not affect what most people are thinking of when they're thinking about what they would like to do. So I would encourage you to check out the exemptions section to see what actually even counts for this. And then, shoot, I forgot the other thing I was gonna say that addressed one of your concerns there. Well, if I think of it, I'll mention it.
Kathy, you had a comment?
It's the same comment that's gonna keep coming up. Right now, a lot of people in the town do not want anybody telling them what they can't do. And what we're trying to do is actually protect the people from that particular Debutante Hollow person turned out even not to be, he wasn't licensed and he had already been, there were lots of things wrong. He had equipment that was leaking all over the place. A lot of the laws that we try to do, in spite of the acrimony and unpleasantness that's been passed around and built up, are because people have asked for years for a town to help protect its resources, its people. So doing these laws is not to stop people from doing things, but it is to try and protect people and their livelihoods even and that's why we do this. And right now, there really is a lot of resistance to anything that we're trying that people perceive as controlling. And, it's important to realize that's not what's going on here. This is a protection law.
Yeah.
Without a law,
Doing that.
without a law, there's not a thing that you can do, period. You can say somebody came in and they can come in on an easement and the easement may have protection, but we have one easement holder who said he didn't want me to come on an inspection because he was mad because all these people kept coming in to try and make him log his land or come in to steal his trees. There's lots of reasons for these things.
So to address the idea that, people are worried about the town board basically making new laws that control things, I would say that this law doesn't limit any kind of logging that can be done. It simply sets a definition of what kind of logging needs to have a permit and what doesn't. And I don't think that the permitting process is going to serve as a function of preventing logging from happening. Unless a person is like, well, I refuse to get insurance that covers the town to do this logging. And I think that really it's better for everyone that there would be insurance, because if there isn't, then that person actually would be liable for the damage that they did to the road. And that would be like an actual problem. Whereas if everybody just goes through like a very simple process of just proving that they have insurance to cover what is essentially a large commercial operation that is dangerous. And obviously, I think that in every case, someone doing that would already be accustomed to the idea of getting, I had to get $1 million worth of insurance to mow in Ithaca. It's very common if you have a business that you need to get insurance coverage that covers the town you're operating in. And it's not like as scary as it sounds to like have insurance for a moment to cover a logging operation.
You can expect the operator would.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking is like, if an operator is gonna be taking 2 full truckloads of wood for commercial purposes, I would assume they have this insurance already. And if they don't, we would be identifying like a legitimate problem that like you're trying to do like a major dangerous thing that could damage roads and property and streams, and like probably don't have the expertise or the professionalism to do it correctly, like having insurance and, identifying where the streams are and which roads you'll be using, and just like letting the town know that you're going to be sending several extremely heavy trucks down a couple of roads. I would hope that that wouldn't turn into like a mechanism to be like, we're going to turn everybody down. I really don't believe that that's what it is. And there's no part of this law that's like, and here's the kind of logging that's not allowed in Danby. It's just like, if you do this much logging, you should tell us before you do it in only 10 days. So I think that, if you compare this law to, for instance, like the proposed noise law or the proposed events law, I think that like this one's pretty tame. And maybe that's because of the 7 years of feedback that went into this law before it got to where it is.
It's definitely a lot tamer than
About
it
the
started out.
change for the noise. law.
Well,
So-
maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know where the
Yes.
time of day, if people feel like, time of day, we had originally once had something in here about, best management practices.
Yeah.
Which are pretty, for
That's it.
logging, there's a book,
Yeah.
but, not just the time of day, but the season, which is, like, you don't go in there and
Muddy.
log a forest when it's rained for 20 days. Winter is good because the ground's frozen.
If the
But
ground's frozen.
I'm assuming that maybe those things, there is some discretion in the permit review. Where the highway superintendent, planner, maybe zoning officer, stormwater management person, within 10 days reviews the permit
Mhm.
application. And, they might have something to say. Like, don't start this week, start 2 weeks from now because of the ground, or, but I assume that we'll have some rather objective checklist or something for this permit review.
We'll just leave it up to our delegated experts, right? It's not
We can't
us,
just leave it up.
right?
We want to have it be objective.
We have to make
for
sure it's,
everybody.
gets done, we have to make sure we know it ahead of time.
But it's
We
not the
don't
town
just-
board, right? That's implicated here. What is the
No,
permit?
No, we need to make sure that
Highway-
that gets done, and it doesn't say it here explicitly.
Yeah, I think it mentions highway supervisor.
I just said, it's a highway
Yeah.
superintendent, the planner, the zoning officer, stormwater management officer are all involved in this permit review. The permit review.
It's
maybe
approved
could
by
be-
the by the town of Danby Highway Superintendent. That's the approval is given by the highway superintendent.
That makes sense to me because I mean,
consultation with the planning, zoning. And
Right.
zoning. So there
Right.
is a
I-
review with it.
It would be nice to have just a brief, checklist of, you know, how is this group, going to review the permit? You know, all the lines are filled out, you know, the insurance is there.
Yeah, I mean,
that,
there
you know,
was at one point, one version of this had a, you know, what the application should look like.
Well, there is one in here, I mean,
Well, you know, what needs to be in it is listed. But the actual, application isn't in it now, is it?
well, I've got something.
No,
I've
that's
got
not part of it.
sort of a,
Greg,
The idea is that the application is just separate from the law.
right, I mean,
Yes.
that was Guy's suggestion, it doesn't belong in the law.
Probably not in here, but it's same thing with the special event laws, is that it would be. Okay, so maybe it was.
I mean-
It's not.
I mean, this looks sort of rough.
It's
maybe
not in the
finished.
2025 version that you have.
Right, it's not, well, that,
I just wonder what the group of people, what they're gonna consider when they review the permit. That's all. I mean, you know, are we gonna put in here time of day? Are we gonna, you know, the highway superintendent would know to check the weather and to, you know, when's the best time to do it, but I feel like I wanna see that. That's all.
If I could.
Yes.
Laura,
Sorry, I was
Go ahead.
raising my hand. I didn't know if anybody saw me.
Yeah.
One of the great things about this law is when this law was written, and as you said, it's taken quite a few years, the highway superintendent was totally involved in looking at this. And I can tell you there's something that we've had in place in the town of Danby for quite some time is our road preservation law. And in that road preservation law, Leslie, that spells out and it points directly to a system that we have that was developed for our municipality through Delta engineers. So it's not like something like just some random decision or anything that a highway superintendent would make. There's some specific things in there, specific questions when he comes to the table with a logger or a developer of specific, and it is like a checklist, and it is filling out some paperwork. For instance, how many truckloads are you planning? What type of equipment is this going to be? And what's the season? And then there is a whole engineered portion of this that is going to establish ESL limits for the roads and gives the highway superintendent the ability, and that is, like I said, that is spelled out to say, look at, gosh, this is the spring, and these are the parameters that we have. So it's not a real, and when you look at them, Tyler, as you were saying, this is a pretty quick process. It's a great process that has the logger and the highway superintendent communicating with one another. And it's not a real stringent thing. It is something that is spelled out. So it's not just going to be able to be some random decision or whatever, you know, that a highway superintendent would make. There's things that are written down and documented as to why certain decisions are made. And we have not had any particular times when loggers have come in. I can tell you, since we've been using that system, we put that in place at the time when we were thinking about fracking. And so that's, we went with a third-party engineer to develop a system for us. We haven't had anybody go over those limits. One time, and that was with the development for Stork H&E, which was a, but that all falls into the same thing, logging, everything. And this logging law points towards that system. So to give you those specifics, we have them and we will have them with this law.
Yeah, I think we should somehow either refer to that or attach something.
That's really cool.
I mean, I was here when we did that, so I remember all that.
Yes, you were on the board when we were working with that.
That's great to hear that we have a law that already acknowledges, you know,
Well, the
large
road
numbers of
preservation.
heavy trucks going down back roads.
Right.
And the other thing that this does too, just for your information, It was at the time when things were happening like that, that they would come and establish a haul route. So in other words, they're gonna go through the whole haul route. Where are they taking these logs? Where are they taking these materials? And is it going on to another municipality's roadways? And different municipalities have different laws. So if they're going to be going on different roadways, then that helps each municipality out along the way, that they have to get approval from that municipality as well for traveling their roads. But does it go over the limits? We haven't had any loggers go over those limits thus far. And then we've had some pretty big jobs that have happened here. So as far as that goes, as you were saying, Tyler, how it really covers everybody, and a lot of things have been in consideration here, but it doesn't prevent anybody from doing things. But
Right.
it puts our eye on it. It puts the highway superintendent's eye on it, which is what he wanted. And we love the law, and the highway superintendent's been involved in it from the start of when they started this with the committee.
And
That's it.
the main thrust of
Thanks,
it.
Laura.
What?
You're
The
welcome.
thrust of it is to position the highway superintendent to be able to intervene in the event that something's being done badly.
Right.
To the roads.
Yeah.
To the roads, for the safety of the community regarding highways.
So it's pretty minimal. I mean, it's just one step beyond a registry, really. To ensure that the
You could
roads
put
are.
it that way, yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
I mean, the roads are the main thing.
It is. And you know,
there's
that was
also
a long discussion about whether,
the
you know,
creek.
how much more should it be, but.
Yeah, the creeks, the erosion, runoff into property, neighboring
Mhm.
property. So,
That was my,
It
main.
protects the logger too. It protects the logger too. Because if the
Yeah.
highway superintendent knows those seasonal roads and knows within a particular season whether there's going to be danger with their particular equipment, possibly that logger outside the district might not really know that, but he's going to be looking out for the logger as well.
yeah.
Right.
Oh, God, remember Depew and Hollow? Oh, my God.
Mm,
It
yeah.
was terrible.
Well,
Really terrible.
the concerns you're raising, Leslie, were my concerns as well, which is to say, to what extent does the law address the danger of a bad logging operation causing serious degradation of the property, even if it's not the roads? And the feeling is that if best management practices are followed, and best management practices are essentially mandated by this.
Right.
If you follow best management practices, that will account for most of the issue. And the DEC's comments were to that effect as well, is that logging is not a significant contributor to erosion compared to normal other agricultural activity. They're not dealing with, of course, the hills that we've got in Danby.
I know. Yeah.
So, I mean, it was my concern, but the feeling of the group was that the best management practices would adequately address that. And if it turns out not to be the case, we can always come back and revise it. So
Mhm.
we kept it simple. It's mostly focused on protecting the roads and positioning the highway superintendent so that he can intervene.
Right.
If they do things in a, when it's the wrong time.
Right.
Um,
What about time of day? Is that something
It's not in here.
we
It's
want to
not,
add or?
I just looked up a bit, tried to find out what's the normal time of day for logging, and it reminded me of a lot of the things that are happening. I mean, weather conditions really might impact that, and the number of hours for them to safely do it would come under the best management. You know, if you can't start because it's dark, you know, in the morning, but if it's really light in the summer, so setting hours is probably. It's probably a little arbitrary to do that.
Kind of thinking
No. It could be that, you know, often homeowners don't want something starting it really early. That might be one of the times to talk to the neighbors.
mhm.
Let people know, by the way, having 20 trees cut down.
Well, I mean, and of course, the question is, you know, is it best addressed here? On the specific potential source of noise or noise block?
I don't know.
We're trying to keep it simple. So it doesn't do that.
I've had, when they came and cut the pipelines, they started early.
Mhm.
But they were
It
done
happened,
early.
and when they were logging on the west slope of the valley a couple years ago too, they were running into the night. They've got they can do it now. The equipment has got the lighting has gotten so much better that they can actually operate at night.
Maybe it's not arbitrary then. I was just sort of assuming you can't really do the logging in the middle of the night. But
Oh,
I mean,
you
if you
can
can, maybe we do need to put something, I don't.
Thank goodness they
But-
can, because they come around and they cut down the trees that are hanging on the light poles
Yeah.
and stopping our electricity. So a lot of things can be done.
Yeah,
And we don't, you know, I definitely don't, I want them to be able to do that, you know.
Yeah,
That's
but
a good
that, I mean,
point.
Well,
that's
that-
That's
an
different. I know
emergency.
it's not logging, but the
Yeah.
point is,
Right,
it is
right.
possible to do something at night.
Right, right.
The man who was doing DePutrid Hollow, the logger, he
They
lived there. He lived in his truck and he operated all night long. He put
Yeah.
lights, operated all night long.
I'm hesitant to be adding things to this after it's been, you know, it's
Right.
been worked on so hard, and I think that we could, I mean, I think that we could do really great to have this law on the books. Is there any reason to think that I mean, are we gonna screw this whole law up by saying you can't log in the middle of the night?
Why would that screw it up?
I mean, right? Like,
Why would that
it seems like, well, because right now I feel like everyone, I feel like it would be hard to have any negative view of this law. I feel like everyone in Danby could agree that this is a good law. I mean.
And you
I-
just said you wouldn't want them just doing it in the middle of the night.
Yeah, I don't wanna rock the boat with such a good law, but yeah,
No, but
I
then-
feel like
Well, we could make it a
don't
little-
want people logging in the middle of the night.
We can make it a little bit better, but it does mean that that would be a substantive change. We'd have to have another public hearing before we enact it, that's all. Bring it back around.
That one,
Where
I mean,
would you put it?
I know, where would you put it? Well,
require-
that's a good question.
Permit implementation, such other conditions of operation may be imposed. But in the judgment of the highway superintendent.
Effectuate the provisions of the section, right?
Uh,
You know, so it could, another condition could be there that, you know, the operations are limited to, you know, dawn to dusk or.
I mean, it could also depend on where it's be happening. I mean, there may be places where logging at night wouldn't be disruptive. There's no, you know, no houses nearby
How
or.
are you gonna account for that?
Hmm?
How are you gonna account for that?
Yeah, you'd have to specify, 20 miles, 10 miles, 3.5
No.
miles.
I think,
No, that's not.
The decibel limit at the property line, I don't know.
I think
Mark,
I was just thinking that you just listed a few reasons that sort of led towards why we need a timber harvest law, and that was protecting roads and protecting streams, and that doesn't have anything to do with the noise.
that's right.
Right.
I feel like
Right,
after,
it doesn't.
so part of me feels like maybe it's
Yeah.
better to keep it narrow, because you could literally go on forever going through drafts where you add things because people suggest it, and then going through drafts where you take out things because people, you know, have problems with that. I feel like you could just say noise doesn't have to be part of this law. Like you said, deal with noise in another law, or if you pass this and it's working in general, but then there's problems with noise logging, then you could do an amendment to it in the future. Like maybe pass it as it is because you've already done so much work and it's meeting the needs that were originally the goal of the law. So that's a
Good point.
And I can say in 18 years I've been here, that's the only time something like that's happened in the night. And that was just a crazy circumstances. Sorry, I don't mean to use that word, but it was.
Yeah, it was the same logger who logged off of Durfee Hill near Steam Mill intersection. And he did the whole thing at night. And it was disruptive. It was mainly lights and stuff. Because there are people that live near there, but. I mean, if,
We have somebody with the hand.
you know, that's not a concern.
Ted, what's that? Ted, did you want to comment?
Yep, thanks. Leslie said the magic word. She mentioned the word insurance, and I'd just like to give you a reference point. My familiarity with insurance is mostly event liability, but liability is liability. And for various things that I do, I'm required to carry insurance. I have to show an insurance certificate to a government, to a business owner, whatever. And that's all well and good, but I've actually taken my insurance policy to a different insurance agent who came back and said, most of what you do isn't actually covered. They're by exclusions. But all it's necessary to see is to see that coverage, the right coverage rider that they want to see. So just a suggestion, I don't think you need to put this in law, but the people reviewing the application should do more than just see it, look at the certificate of coverage and say, are you covered? Look at the actual contract, the agreement. Are they covered for the specific things that the town wants to be covered for? Thanks. I should have said this during the hearing, but it went right by me.
We do have a
Thanks.
possible place for it, for
Mhm.
something to be. Section 5, number 7, estimated harvesting dates and times.
Which
And
means,
that would be part of what's,
it means that the time they apply, they'd know ahead of time when they were doing it and what time.
right.
That's an
And
easy
then,
change.
and that could be, since it's being reviewed, that's when the reviewer says, what is
Well,
your usual
right.
time? Because setting a time, anybody can say anything about people's normal schedules, but I don't think there are, people with young families have children who wake up in the night, people who work in the night, try to sleep in the day. There's all kinds of things.
Yeah.
If we're worried about time, the reasons that people worry about it is how much disturbance is it. It's not about, as sort of as what Mark was saying, not about the best practices of the actual law. It's about the disturbing of people, I think. But if you just put estimated harvesting dates and times, then it gets reviewed.
It gets reviewed, but there's nothing in that, this is information
And put
to be
reasonable.
provided, but
Correct.
it's not requiring any
Right, but-
particular times. You say,
Yeah.
Well, this
tell
is
us what
estimated
times.
Dates too, are estimated.
Right,
Right, all estimated.
you're telling us when you plan on doing it, both and where. But it doesn't say that you are in any way constrained in the information you could provide. Just to say, they could tell us that, we plan on doing it in August, and we'll be operating from, 7 o'clock at night till 7 o'clock in the morning. That would still, tell you what they plan to do. And there's nothing in here that would say, but that doesn't work. Because it doesn't address what this is about. Whether you're doing it at night or during the day is not going to affect how its impact on the road or the land.
The benefit of that is it gives us more data. That would be helpful.
Sure.
Long term.
It's not necessarily good data though, because it's just kind of, the person who's putting in the permit is just gonna say they'll do it during the day. That'll be their
That's
assumption.
all
and
right,
that's what they'll
but
do.
if they say that and then they do it at night, then they're
Right.
violating their agreement, if that's what they say, and they granted the permit on that grounds, then they're violating the grounds of their permit.
These
Then
are
we can do
estimated.
something.
They're estimated, they're not.
What?
It's an estimate. It says right here, estimated.
Right. That's
I mean,
not
it's
saying what
not,
to do if they.
even the volume
Same with the
estimated,
dates.
Mhm.
What?
I mean,
One more.
The dates are in there. You
Yeah,
make
but what
the same
would we-
argument on date.
Saying if they didn't follow an
It's-
estimated date and time, what would we do?
It's a data for us to use, and if it's caused a problem because we don't use it or they violate those dates that they say, then we can go back and look at the law and see if it is causing problems because of that. Without that data, we don't know.
Right. There is one more, since we've had many people, there's one more person in the audience with.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on up.
My name's Gene. I think you're really wasting your time on what could happen. There's tons of things that could happen.
Sorry. Right.
Woods are lost all the time by good people. No problems. and you're worried because of maybe one I've never heard of a logger logging at night. But it might have happened one time. It makes people angry. I don't think we should dwell on that one time. If you're gonna put this through, like I said, it probably is good. I'm not saying I'm for it or against it, but I don't think you should worry about it. There's all things you could worry about. Geez, that's hard work. He probably drinks. Are we gonna put a breathalyzer in his equipment? We're gonna have the sheriff there to check every morning? You really gotta hope these people that the homeowner is hiring has good faith, and these are good people. I wouldn't just have some yahoo show up in a jacked up diesel truck kicking beer cans out. Like, no, I'm gonna log it. We've had the farm logged multiple times. All good people, you know. There's landowners around here that have good people. It happens, they're gone, they're done and out, and nobody even knows.
Right.
I don't think we should dwell on the one time it happened at night and they lie or what. I really think you should move on and hope that people do best practices.
Well, and seeing that, the nice thing about the law is that then you can do something. Without the law, we can't.
Correct.
So, the question comes back to, do we want to amend it before we pass it? Or are we going to go with it and see how it goes?
Joel, can I make it?
Yes.
Well, I'm
Great.
thinking of that, and I'll look at another hand up too. There are, so I
Greg.
reviewed.
Greg,
Yes.
at the table.
I like that we're getting some good conversation on all of it.
So I did review this with Keith a while ago. Laura, you were there at his office. Unfortunately, I haven't reviewed it since then. There's a few inconsistencies in who approves the permit, who enforces it, and then who denies a permit. It could probably be cleaned up. I just wonder if, I don't know, I don't want to speak for Keith, and because I know that Keith was okay to be involved in the reviewing the law or reviewing permits, but not enforcing them. Laura, you might maybe have a better memory than I do about that, but I mean, right now it says that the planner is the enforcement officer.
Yeah.
The highway superintendent is the person who approves the permit,
Yeah.
and then the planner is the one who denies the permit. I just think that there needs to be, like, something in here needs to be changed. It might be as simple as just removing the line in section 9. Where it says, in the event the permit is denied by the TOD planner, zoning officer, stormwater management officer, you could just get rid of that and say, in the event the permit is denied, comma, the applicant may appeal the decision to the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Yeah, then that language implies that the permit is going to be granted by the planner, zoning
Makes sense.
officers.
Right, and
Which
so.
is inconsistent with the other language indicating that it's the highway superintendent approves.
Right, so, Laura, from that conversation with Keith, it was, do you recall? Yeah,
What I remember about it, yes, is that he didn't feel that the responsibility should be for the highway department to go through and make final approval, just approval on his segment. Approval or denial on his segment, which pertain to roads and laws. And when I reread that, Greg, I guess I didn't see what you're seeing. I reread that when it was written and saying that the planner is the one. So anything that Keith reviewed and looked at, the way that it stands right now, he was happy with. But if you're seeing some kind of inconsistency that we didn't see.
Well, yeah, I'm seeing it because, it says the permit
By the
application shall
highway
be,
superintendent.
it says the permit will be reviewed and approved by the highway superintendent.
I think it would be best to just, I think Keith and I gotta talk about this.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
But it's not in that, I guess we didn't see it because we were reviewing it there and I know he felt comfortable with what was there. But if there's a mix up, there's something with the wording that we didn't notice.
Well,
Does that say that this highway superintendent is going to approve the whole thing? Or does it mean the highway superintendent is going to do an approval, a final approval? his segment of this.
No, it states that the
Permit will be approved by the highway superintendent. That's what it says.
In consultation.
That's not the end of the
With
sentence.
the
It does say in consultation with the planner, zoning officers.
Yes, yes,
But that-
but,
but
Yeah, that's why he felt okay with
The
it.
highway superintendent, not what she is saying.
but,
I think we should,
table,
let it.
Yeah.
table it,
Yeah, I think it's
review
worth
it.
just going back and
It doesn't
just
sound
making
like a lot of
sure,
work.
because
Sounds like it can
I mean, I
come
did
back
read through
soon.
this carefully, and I interpreted that to mean that the highway superintendent had to basically sign off on it before it was approved. But there's nowhere else in here where it talks about somebody else doing the overall approval, so that's, it leaves it basically in the highway superintendent's hands, which is not what he wants. or
right, so
intends.
the way what I'm relating this to is is a building permit. So Steve is he's the only one in the town authorized to sign off on building permits. But because the town has zoning and the town has a zoning officer, Steve gets a building permit and he passes them over to me. I look at it for zoning compliance. I write my notes saying, yep, looks good, or no, I didn't call the applicant. And then I pass it back to him with my notes and my approval,
Right.
or I copy him on an email that says,
Right.
I can't approve your permit because of these reasons. I'm in consultation for Steve for him to,
Right.
approve the building permit. So
And intent here was for the highway superintendent to be the one consulting with and
With the
providing input.
planner, because
The
the
person
planner.
who's actually granting the permit, which was intended to be you,
The planner.
planner. So that's not really clear. You're right, it's ambiguous
Yeah.
the way.
it just would be good to just be sure of everyone's roles, I
Yeah.
think, because we were pretty clear when I met with Keith about it and we marked it up. And I believe maybe Laurel, you had sent it back to CAC or however that happened, but
Mhm.
didn't get quite translated out in this on.
It didn't get.
I apologize, I didn't
We reviewed it.
listen, be sure.
We thought we had it.
Yeah, I
but-
know Keith would feel a lot better if it said that the planner was gonna be the one to do the final approval with the consultation of the highway
Yeah.
superintendent, code enforcement, et cetera.
Mhm. So,
Sorry, we didn't see that, guys. Didn't mean to confuse things.
right, I didn't see it either, and I did look at it closely, so.
So did we.
I move we table this for revision.
Thanks, Greg.
Second, we have to vote.
Yeah,
Okay.
if we brought it up, and we're intending
Next-
to.
Table till next weekend, next meeting, next weekend.
Yeah, I think.
Well, there's two questions there. One is that clarifying that point is something we can easily do.
Right, right.
Do we want to put anything in there in addition about hours of operation?
I don't think it's a bad thing to just add it, right, where it says estimated
Posting dates
and dates,
Date, bad.
date
Yeah.
of operation.
You could put it in, but it doesn't.
It's estimated.
There's no requirement that there to be anything in so doing. They could tell us that we intend to do it in August and we intend to do it 24/7, until we get it done.
Right.
That would satisfy that requirement if we put it in. If they give us advance notice that they're gonna be doing it round the clock.
Right, but this law wouldn't limit them doing that.
Wouldn't limit them doing that.
The benefit is would have data, we could then choose to make changes to the law after the fact.
This is true.
If
They
it's
look at reporting
needed.
data, right?
We have the data.
Well, they told us.
Although, yeah, the data, see, we wouldn't have the right data though. The data we would have is what did they tell us, not what did they do. The data that we want to make decisions about changing the law would be what actually happened.
And then we can get that data as well. We can get this to start with.
That
That gives
It
us
doesn't
part of the
hurt to
data.
have that in there.
Yes, that's right,
It doesn't hurt to have the hours estimated.
No.
Sometimes that makes the person thinking about it. I mean,
right, and it would give you, as Pat says, more information. And information is one of the impetuses for doing this in the first place, is that we have no knowledge of what's happening where in Danby and when it comes to law.
call the question on the
Tabling. motion.
tabling.
Okay,
Then we have. to
well,
vote twice.
if you're moving to call the question, then we have to vote on that. We could just, otherwise we just,
Or just go, okay, I'll withdraw the table request and just say, oh, as a group, do you think we could vote on this now?
yeah, yeah, I think so. Okay, Mariah. What
Just
do we
want-
Table.
we're tabling the harvest law, correct?
Oh, yes.
Yep.
Thank you. Connors,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes.
Stein,
Yeah.
Woodworth,
Yes,
Gagnon.
Yep.
Thank you.
Somebody, well, it'll be in minutes, but you know, what we want to make a change to it. To clarify.
I got
Okay,
it.
darn it, not yet. Okay. We are required to have a second CDBG public hearing as part of our process with dealing with it. And I asked the question and I got an answer, but I don't remember what it was. Could you, Greg, tell us why we need the second public hearing?
Yeah. So there's, as you know, there are two open CDBG programs right now, community development block grants. The town has one for homeowners that meet income requirements to upgrade their homes. This public hearing is for the multifamily 2023 program. It was a small pot of money, about 150 grand. It's been mostly used to upgrade the two multifamily units across the street on Danby Road. And so that program has reached 75% of its amount in terms of what has been expended. So there's 25% left. The town is required to do a public hearing on them, to just seek input on, I was just sort of looking at what that was for, but it's just seeking input on how the program is going, expectations, you know, what the application said. I thought it would be worth to put a mailer out to the owner of those properties and maybe the tenants, you know, and just sort of see how's everything going. But yeah, that's the requirement for the public hearing.
And so I move that we schedule that second public hearing for November 3rd.
second.
Thank you.
Any more needed before we vote?
Nope.
Okay, Mariah,
Connors,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes.
Stein,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes,
Gagnon.
yes,
Thank you.
okay, special events, local law. We have come a long way. The question is, do we have a draft that we're willing to advance to formal consideration? Or does it need more work? And if so, what?
Well, I took some notes where I put in some edits that I would put, and I also have a couple of things I wrote clarification on that I'd like to discuss.
And I'd like to make a statement, and particularly in light of what you said in the beginning. Keep in mind that the reason we're doing this at all is to enable that which is not currently allowed in our zoning.
right.
And we're not trying to discontinue anything or curtail activity. We're trying to enable the kind of thing that Angela wanted to do on South Danby
No, we're
Road
not.
in a better way.
We're not.
In a better way, in an appropriate way.
Schedule things at 2 a.m. He scheduled bands at 2 a.m. and 1 a.m.
In a better way. You know, that it would be nice to be able to have large special events and mass gatherings that are not provided for in our zoning. And that's
more than 100 people though.
Oh, yeah, I had way more.
Right.
Yeah, so that's certainly a consideration in here, because I had the same concerns. If there's 100 people, an awfully low trigger.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to a birthday party for a dog that had more than 100 people.
I had graduation parties and birthday parties for the son, and I invited all the neighbors to several different parties at my house. We never had more than 100. I guess I don't have any friends.
Some people have a lot of friends.
Well, more than
Or big
100,
families.
and then these other
Other
things
parts.
for more than 8 hours.
Yeah, well, there
With
are all
overnight
these exceptions.
camping.
Right.
Past 9 p.m.,
Yep.
fee for admission.
You know,
More than once a month, I mean, there's other things that are
Right.
attached to it.
Yes,
think
it's
that-
not just that.
yeah,
If you
right.
divide gatherings into two different groups, like, and you call one group like small gatherings, like maybe there's 4 or 5 people together. How large does that go before it's not a small gathering anymore? And now it's like a special event? Because I feel like 400 people together listening to some music is a party. for sure. I mean, it's a
big party.
obviously you scheduled that. Obviously, you reached out to a lot of people. They all planned in advance to be there, and they chose to come to the same place together to most likely have a great time. But what is the number for where you're talking about something that like we want to regulate? Like if somebody is like, I have a friend who can line up 7 bands, we can have camping and we can have shows go on all weekend. Like that sounds like something you probably want to have some regulations around. Something that I would love to be an option in Danby for somebody who's good at that kind of thing and not, not like shooting from the hip.
Right.
Somebody who knows what they're doing and can put together a fun get together. That sounds cool. Happens once a year or something. That sounds amazing. But that also sounds like something that has like 5,000 people or something. And to me, that's obviously like you gotta have rules about how that goes down, or else you're gonna destroy the environment and ruin a lot of people's weekend.
But
it's also
Well, when you're getting
dangerous.
500 people together, that's just like people
Dangerous.
listening to a band.
One of the things is about risk and danger and health and welfare of the attendees as well. And the other people
that's why
who
you
drive
need
on the
regulations.
roads.
Yeah, and I agree that for a big event that like, you have to have enough porta potties and you have to have trash and that people like, there needs to be access for ambulances. And like, if you're gonna have so many people that it's like genuinely like, you could screw this up in a way that people will get killed by not doing it right, then I feel like, yeah, that is worthy of regulations. But when I think of 400 people coming together, I don't expect anyone to get killed. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like a stage will collapse.
So it would have to be 400 people and be longer than 8 hours, or there's camping and overnight on the property. The event will go on after 9 p.m. They're charging a fee. It's not just the number.
Right.
It's these other things that
Well,
pushes it
It's
into
any
a
one of
special
those other
event.
things, any one thing from that
Right,
list.
right.
That's true.
And then more than
At
100
least
people,
one.
which is like every party over 100 people.
No, because not every party lasts more than 8 hours or involves overnight camping
Good
or
ones do.
goes past 9 p.m. or requires a fee for admission. What happens more than once in a while?
Have you guys seen Footloose?
Oh,
What did
let's
you
not.
say?
What the hell?
The movie Footloose? Have you guys seen Footloose?
What does that matter?
He's trying to
So
make
you
an
haven't
example
seen it.
of.
All right.
I haven't seen it.
Okay.
What does it matter?
Why do we want to kill parties of 100 people?
We're not trying to kill parties, we're trying to enable them.
I don't know. I mean, that sounds like 1984 to me. I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
The only,
We're trying to enable large events to happen in a way that's safe.
Right.
I just don't define large events the same way as you
Well,
guys.
that's a fair point to quibble about,
The-
is
the
100
cutoff-
reasonable?
The cutoff is not 100 people automatically requires it. The cutoff is 100 people and one of these.
But
If
read
you-
the list.
If you have 400 and none of these, which is, I never had a graduation party that went over 8 hours or involved overnight camping, went past 9 o'clock, or I didn't charge for it either.
So.
Yeah, most of the.
And I didn't do it every month. I did it once when he graduated.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like any time that you invite over 100 people, you're gonna meet at least one of these things that would benefit.
I disagree.
Doubt it. And if you do, then it does count.
I
Then it
can't.
does
If
count.
we don't pass the law.
Well,
According to this, it would count, and that's what that's
well,
what we have
according-
here. So it's not 100, the cutoff is not 100 people, period. It's not 100 people cut off.
I love that. That sounds
Require
great.
this. It's not what this says, as written, it's not what this says.
I mean, that's not accurate, but okay.
yes,
It is accurate.
It's 100 people and,
Right, 100 people and a list of things that would happen if you had 100 people together.
no,
No,
I can't think of,
No,
I
but that
can't-
doesn't make any sense at all.
Okay.
I can't think of a single event in Danby that would be triggered that we wouldn't want it to apply to.
Yeah,
I mean, what can you cite as having something that happened that would then be subject to this? That isn't, that happens in Danby in the last, whatever, now for 5 years.
If more than 100 people came together to
Okay,
camp.
we can argue about this all night.
Oh,
I mean,
that's-
we're not gonna
that
vote on,
is an issue, yes, if 100 people can, because that, the Department of Health has to get involved with.
But we're not gonna vote.
Gets involved with
This
it.
is not
Yes.
up for vote tonight.
Jesus.
on-
No,
Okay,
we're up, what we are about is, are we ready to propose this?
okay.
And if not, how would we change it? if we
Right.
do?
We change.
I have a request, and I don't know if anybody else thinks it's off the wall, but in reading through it, I want to have a chart that lists, Danby Food and Drink, the Legion, Pirates Club, South Hill Cider Church, art openings at the Goldenrod Depot, farmers markets, skate park, gatherings at Dobson Park, and garage sales. I want it on a list, and I want to know how each one of those would be impacted by this or not. I just want to know what impact this would have on those
On that list of things.
events or gatherings.
Yeah, and I'm sure Steve would add, on the kind of things that he does routinely too.
I just realized that Steve did write a bunch of comments in the chat.
Oh, did he?
We weren't supposed to, we're supposed to disable the chat.
I
Right.
don't remember that, but
Oh my God.
but we're not paying attention to it because it's
I
not
know,
part
but
of the
the point
process.
is you have two meetings going on. You have a meeting there.
Yeah, yes,
and You have a
yeah.
meeting here.
Yeah.
And we did at one time.
Used for commercials.
We did.
I don't
yeah.
I don't know how you did see that, but I'm not seeing the chat
I see it here.
over there.
I
Commercial,
can't even see it. I just see the red.
commercial property was already accounted for here
Well,
in part B.
Well, I think when you started.
Right, and
listening-
that was, that's a question that I raised recently thinking about Steve. When I read that, commercial to me means it not necessarily restricted to a commercial zone, but a commercial activity includes agricultural activities are commercial, they're commercial, but they're dispersed, they're not in zone specifically set up for commercial activity. So in my mind, when I said, commercial is exempt, that would, in my mind, exempt South Hill Cider from the special event law because he has regular events at a commercial facility that does them routinely, and so has made reasonable provisions for parking and all the other things, sanitation and all this stuff that are addressed in the permit process for events that occur in places where they don't typically occur. These special events are, somebody's farm field, or, property, they got a large property and they're having a gathering or whatever. That doesn't typically happen there. It's a one-off in the neighborhood for some reason. And if it meets these criteria, then, it seems reasonable, they would be subject to review and getting a permit to make sure that they can do it in a way that's not gonna cause problems for themselves and the town. But, so to my mind, when commercials as an exemption would exempt South Hill Cider.
Okay, I'm gonna say, I don't want our discussion based on South Hill Cider.
No, my response to Leslie was she mentioned
I know, but
specifically,
Joel just did it.
but we're also talking about the store, which is also commercial, and you mentioned
That's
that.
right.
Well,
Both
yeah,
of
but
those would be exempt.
Those are all we have right now. This isn't about what we have right now. This is about a law for Danby that will.
I was
know,
responding to her.
But it's not about these things that we already have. And a law that we develop is supposed to be a law that is supposed to recognize issues that could be anywhere in
Right,
Danby.
right.
I'm actually concerned with some of these words, commercial and institution. I don't really like those words because anybody might describe, I could have, I don't have enough room and I wouldn't, and I don't want to, but let's say I decided that I wanted to have an applesauce making thing and I wanted to go pick apples and I wanted to bring back and I wanted to press them. And yes, it's taking more than 8 hours because we have to, you know how long it takes to process apples to make stuff. And what if I had shifts of people that came in, I added up more than that? Is that a commercial thing? Because we're gonna sell this applesauce. Is that commercial? I think the definitions.
Definitions
are
need
a
to be,
problem.
yeah.
I agree that's part of the problem, and that's why I saw it commercial one way, And Greg
Yeah.
saw them a different way, and Greg's the one who wrote this, so I mean, I think it wants clarity regarding what do we really intend
Right.
to
We've been
exempt?
through, we've tried and tried and tried, and
So we need
it's the
definition.
same problem where we, you know.
We shouldn't have to exempt anything because it should be a large enough number of people that anything with that many people, like if the church wants to have like 1,500 people come out to hear a band, I don't see any reason why just because it's a church, that wouldn't damage the environment or
I
bother
agree.
people, and if we
I
made the
agree.
number right, we wouldn't.
I
have
don't think just
any
because it's the church or just because, I mean, what if the factory on Comfort Road decided to have some 10-year anniversary thing? They're already making a motion in the neighborhood, but they have enough room for 100 people.
Yeah, they
to park.
could easily have a big
So,
party there if they wanted to.
I think we need to do a review once again, and I know we've been through these definitions.
It's still a review.
Yeah, a review
We're
of
not done. It's just
definitions
how do we-
and maybe tidy up
Yeah.
the numbers.
Something I'd love
But I
Oh,
think
sorry.
it's really important for us to have a noise law, and I will say, Warren Cross sent me
Wait a minute, we're talking about special events.
special events, I'm sorry. I got off the subject because we were talking about noise thing,
Yes.
because bands keep getting mentioned.
When you have 400 people together, you should have some music, I think, otherwise.
Not necessarily, you have a
Sure.
lecture,
That's my opinion.
you have a
I could
lecture.
see,
I was planning the party.
I could see that the scenario you described is very realistic, getting a bunch of people together to press apples, saying the apples put cider.
Okay, I made a bad choice, and I've made several
I think it was a good choice.
misunderstood choices, yeah, but it came back to making cider, and again, I didn't want this to be
No, I'm talking
anyway
about,
pointed at.
so you said applesauce, but heck, it's more likely to happen, they're gonna be pressing apples into cider.
Not go there. I think we need to define these words. We need to,
Or substitute better ones.
No.
We have to clear what
whatever,
we intend.
right, if we can't define them, we need to get rid of them or replace them, but yes.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, and the question
Okay,
is,
I'm done. Go
with-
ahead. You
with
talk.
what?
Go ahead. I'm in favor of, I will leave it this way. I'm in favor personally of a special event law. I'm in favor of a logging law. I'm in favor of the noise, an idea about a noise law, all for the same reason, because we are responding to the people who don't speak up for reasons that this is not fun. This is not easy. It takes revision after revision to come up with something that's reasonable, that actually does allow us to say, wait a minute, there's something. That's why. So doing it carefully is a big deal. Defining it's a good idea. So should we
And I
make a
think-
motion, we table this one too? for the
Yeah.
same
I'd like to keep discussing it for a minute. We could table it, but
It'd be nice to know how we want to revise it. I mean, no point
we've only
tabling it.
covered the first section.
Yeah, I mean, the tabling it doesn't get us any closer to getting it passed unless we say, well, here's.
I got it.
Here's the problems we got with it. What do we
Got
need to
it.
fix?
Well, we've already heard we have a problem with the definition, so that's one thing.
Yes.
Tabling it for.
The question is, how should we change that definition? Would it be reasonable to consider taking that out altogether so that there are no exceptions?
As long as the attendees number was higher, I think that works, but that's my opinion.
Well, that's another way to get at it, but then, okay, so suppose we made the not 1,000, no way.
No.
But, maybe made it 200 instead of 100.
That's the same thing though.
No.
Would we then say any event that draws more than 200 people or whatever, and has these other things, lasts more than 8 hours, involves overnight parking, runs past 9, to trigger the need for a permit? Would we have any exceptions to that?
I see Zach's hand, and I also just want to say that maybe what we're missing is saying the reason that we selected these things. Explain the reason that why we might have chosen these words for it, and look at the reason and find out if is it valid and is it not understood. But the reason for having 100 people, what's the reason?
Mhm.
The reason for not having
What are we
50
protecting?
cars. What?
What are we protecting?
What are we?
What are our?
Yeah, it might be, what are we protecting, might be, There might be some other, but yes, one of the things is what we're protecting.
Because if we could,
Person saying.
Purpose,
Well,
yeah,
it-
purpose
yeah.
and goals.
Yeah, that's a good
Section
idea,
4
purpose.
Section 4 has a lot of the meat of like, why does any of this exist? And I guess I wanted to point out that almost none of this long section in section 4 has anything to do with protecting the environment from large gatherings, which in my opinion, like, why else are we doing this other than, you know, to protect neighbors of the event?
Yeah.
But like neighbors of the event and also the environment, and then those are the two big things that you want to be protected with this law. But the law almost doesn't mention like rubbish or garbage or refuse, except in section 4,
Yeah.
number 13.
Right, it's there.
Well, but it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's 10 words out of the whole law to say like, don't leave trash.
And
Doesn't
well
say
said.
anything about like any kind of damage that might be caused by having lots of people in one place, whether it's, you know,
Well,
sewage or trash or
Or how about
whatever else.
those
There's
lights
nothing in
that
this
they
law
have?
about that.
yeah, how about the lights that they have at car sales into the
Almost nothing
sky?
about
So
that.
yeah, protect the unpaid. So
There's very little in this
it's
law
good
that like
protection.
does anything good. I don't know.
Well,
So it does help the neighbors, please.
Well, I guess there's a little bit about that, I guess.
You know, like,
maybe a
you
little
don't
bit.
care about neighbors, obviously.
Well, I don't think that neighbors should be able to like shut down everyone trying to just be normal and have a
You
normal
don't.
life.
No.
You're calling it.
Yeah,
I mean,
like go to the
some-
site.
Some of the issue was environmental. A lot of the issue had to do with safety.
Right.
The fire
Wait,
department
wait,
was
wait, wait.
worried.
one person at a time.
You know,
There's no way to just.
There,
be
there are other
intelligent.
things besides the environment, when the last time it was an issue, I mean, where it would be nice to be able to have, you know, special events, you know, I don't know, a great, huge music gathering. But what was lacking the last time there was a situation was any kind of planning for
Emergency.
emergencies, the
Parking.
fire department, parking, there was
The
no
access.
parking,
Hmm.
park on the road. And I know they changed that, the park, you know, 2 miles away.
Yeah,
Um,
I've been negotiation, but,
But I mean, there were a lot of things, the health department,
Is
you
no
know,
help.
with that many people, you better have some way to, have an outhouse or some,
Bunch of-
anyway, it's not, there were a lot of reasons why some of these things are in here.
Yes,
And
right.
that event would have been covered if that law was like 700 or 800 people.
yes, but
Wait.
there's no event in South Wales County that has ever exceeded 500 people except grassroots
In the whole county.
in the whole county.
Oh, really? I thought you had 1,000.
Ithaca Festival.
Vax may be
What was that?
Ithaca Festival, but they do it all over the place.
Yeah. You know,
I think Zach
we
Williams
asked,
has
Zach,
when,
Zach and Wayne.
when the South Hill, South Danby Road, party was a, you know,
Proposal.
a proposed, well, it wasn't proposed, when it was planned.
Right.
We asked the health department, you know, shouldn't they be involved in making sure that, you know, sanitation was adequate and some of the other stuff? They said, we don't get involved unless it's more than 500, and the
Oh, I
only
thought it
place
was
we've ever been asked to do
3,000.
that for is grassroots.
Oh,
I
that's
thought they said
interesting.
1,000 or 3,000 was a huge number, whatever it was.
I think it was
They wouldn't
500.
they couldn't help us.
Anyway, it didn't help us because it
Yeah.
was playing less than that.
You wanna ask Zach what he was trying to say?
Yeah, there were people like,
He's been having it, he just has.
His arm is getting
it.
It's tired.
And actually, part of this. You own the farm on Miller Road.
I do.
And
Yeah.
have you had events there in the past?
Wait a minute. Mariah cannot possibly.
Would you
hear
mind
this
coming
time.
up and, yeah.
Stand over
And
here
we-
so you can face the mic as it comes.
Plus when
Sorry.
you're,
Listen, I'm not attacking you.
Yeah, no.
I wanted to have this.
It's part of the reason I'm here.
I was hoping. you'd
We did
come.
have some events this past weekend and the weekend before, kind of like an open bar where people would come and
yeah.
Yeah.
check stuff out and have fun.
Yeah.
So,
And-
but it's a starting off thing, so I don't know if it's
Sure.
gonna be 10 people or 100 people. So it's tough
Yeah,
and like you jump through the hoops and what do I get a permit? It costs money. And you have 2 people show up.
You have to be 90 days in advance to be referred to.
That too.
You need
I mean,
half a year.
my wife jumped this onto me like 2 months before, you know, and I
Yeah.
did much worse, so.
So
Yeah,
I guess,
but-
and so I'm kind of having this,
Yeah.
like,
We're
what,
having the same problem of multiple people talking. And I'm concerned that Mariah's able to get the recording for this.
Yeah, well, she got a recording, but it may be pretty muddled.
So we need to be, yeah.
But keep in mind, we're saying, no, it's not just 100 people, 100 people and.
no,
some of those other things.
trust me, I've read this and I think it might have changed in the past like day. I think the time, I can't remember the time, it doesn't matter. Like, this discussion is the difference of, do you have the capacity on your land to actually park cars?
Absolutely.
So getting into this, we're also talking about the difference of space, which is a huge thing. Because I don't know how much space you're dedicating to doing events, but there is a big difference between having, let's say, 10 acres, 5 acres, whatever, dedicated to something, versus an acre and a half, just using that as a decent example, where you don't have parking.
And once again, what I brought up about the loggers, there's some people that know what they're doing and some people that
Yeah.
don't. I have experience through the Park Store, through the Legion,
Yeah.
through my work, Porta John, Health Department. Enough room for parking, signage,
Yeah,
talk to the people coming, boundaries, so they're not going on to the neighbors,
yeah.
garbage, dumpsters,
And
all the things that you guys are worried and addressed about. They're addressed.
Right.
and this is because you obviously have been here for generations. Like, you don't want to mess your land up. And like most people that do things, and this actually kind of does tie into the logging law. And to me, the way I look at it is, I've worked in construction for way too long, and getting building permits, like, not great, not my favorite thing. I do it. And that is because I've worked on so many jobs where there've been unpermitted work, and you're looking at something that's like, ow. And I get it. It's like the small amount of people doing things wrong. But that's the difference of like, are you going to give a permit for someone on the acre and a half that doesn't have the parking to do something like this? And that's where he could have, let's say 700 people, and it's not going to be feel cramped, and it's not going to be. I'm not trying to make a point. I'm trying to make a point. I don't know what it is. It's like it's the difference of having the space to breathe. I mean,
That bad apple that was on South Danby Road, if it was on
Yeah.
larger land, no one would know.
Right.
Yeah, and it's
But it's the local.
I would like to speak if it's possible, since there's a discussion.
Get back.
Yeah, well, there is a discussion, yeah.
Yeah. Can I speak?
Yeah.
Did you finish?
Great.
No.
Zach didn't
Well,
finish.
maybe after Jack is done.
No, I was just putting myself in line. I don't need to cut in.
Okay. And that's where it's like, the difference of, I've played a lot of shows in my lifetime. I've been to a lot of shows. That is not the all-encompassing part of this, but is the difference between like having a situation where if you are in, say, if you're somewhere that's like been known to not have great EMS service, and you have something happen that's like, someone that has a heart attack, someone that overdoses, there's a million things that could happen. And that's like the one thing that I do support of this is that situation. I think the number is way too low with that. And I don't think it's even sensical to try and do like something commercial in a space. Like, are you even going to allow this to happen on a space that doesn't fit a smart criteria?
I don't think this has like a nailed down size, which would make a lot of sense if you're talking about a certain number of people, certain amount of space, like if.
Yeah, and that's why I'm bringing it up. I have no answer. I'm obviously not alone.
I have a suggestion that plays into this.
Yeah, okay, it's appropriate at this point.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so it segues right into what Zach and everybody's talking about right now, where perhaps there could be some kind of threshold where you say, okay, if an event is between this number of people and this number of people, then you can do it without a permit as long as you satisfy these requirements. You have proper access to safety. You have adequate parking. You have X number of acres. You have accessibility for emergency vehicles. You know, you can specify these things that like you don't need a permit as long as you satisfy these requirements. So we don't need to discuss that now, but it's a concept that just occurred to me that's not covered in this at all. It's sort of like all or nothing. And then a couple other small comments on section 2B and C. It specifies that you have to apply 90 days ahead of time, and then it says the permit shall be obtained at least 14 days before the special event. I'm not quite sure how that plays into things where you have to get other permits. Like, for example, if you're getting a specific alcohol permit, like a one-time beer, wine, cider permit for an event, you have to apply for that within a certain window, but you need to know that the event is going to happen before you're going to spend money applying for that license. And so if this is saying you're not going to find out till 14 days before the event, I'm just not sure what that means. So we don't need to get in the weeds on that, but that's just a comment I had. Also, number 2, or my second comment was in section 1A under special events, the number of 100 people or more. I do agree with Tyler that number 100 I feel like is very low. So I think there has to be more discussion on that. But primarily, I wanted to point out that I have a petition that we've had people sign that's asking for the town board to have a more active discussion among the citizens to go over this law before proposing it for a public hearing. And honestly, I don't want to waste the town's time and money and resources having a public hearing on something that a ton of people are going to show up to and shoot it down. And so having more of a public comment session, even if it's some back and forth with a certain number of people, like a working group, and maybe you've already gone through all this and it's just been so long that I wasn't aware that happened. But, you know, having stakeholders like businesses, like churches, fire department, whoever is really interested in having a discussion on this to productively work it out. Because like I said at the beginning of the meeting, I'm not opposed to the idea of having a special event law because I think it could foster more events because people know that there's an avenue to think creatively and do interesting events rather than just going out on a limb and thinking, well, I think it's okay, but it might not be, so I'm not going to do it. And then lastly is on section 1B, where it does talk about the religious and school functions, commercial, institutional. I know you talked about that. I don't want to beat a dead horse on it, but I think that needs some work as well to clarify, does commercial encompass agricultural operations that are also commercial operations? The lack of the word agricultural in there when it lists institutional and religious and school and commercial, I just feel like might be an oversight. Anyway, thanks everybody. I think this discussion is very, very fruitful. So, thank you.
Okay, it's
Sure, that's by
7:50.
issue.
It's
Yeah.
7:50. Mariah,
Yes, it is.
reminding you.
Yeah. This is true.
So I have like a procedural question. I like copied the text of the law into my phone and then I put like a strike through parts where my personal like opinion was like, oh, I don't like this. And then I wrote in red text, like what I would replace it with. And I don't mean to like be imposing. I'm just thinking that's like the clearest and easiest way for me to provide to everybody what I think. Can I
Right,
send
sure.
that to all you guys in email and
Sure.
just kind of be like,
Yeah.
this is what I thought? Did I did
Yeah.
send it to you? Okay. Oh, okay, yeah, because I did also make an edit to section 2C, which is one of the things that Steve just mentioned about the permit shall be obtained at least
Yeah,
14 days
right.
before the special event.
Right.
I would just strike at least 14 days because then it would say the permit shall be obtained before the special event.
Yeah, you're raising the question, why 14 days?
Yeah, and then I guess also the one before that, why do you have to submit the application for the permit 10 times earlier than the logging law?
Well, because it's approved by
It allows for appeals. So if there's, the reason why this was put out so long was that if I deny a permit, and so Oh, no, I'm sorry, actually, we removed me even from being a reviewer of the permit. The permit goes to the Board of Zoning Appeals. So there's no administrative function whatsoever, because again, this is saying that there's a use that is not allowed on this land, but the town is going to allow it on a temporary basis. Again, this is an enabling law, trying to enable large events, because right now they are criminal misdemeanors. So if you hold a large event, the town will take you to court and it's a misdemeanor. That's probably pretty.
How is that defined now as far as what would qualify for that now?
That which is.
I
not
would
customary
allege it as a
residential.
zoning officer and say you're not meeting the zoning.
So like,
the uses.
who would you say that to, I guess? Like, what's the minimum thing that you would say this doesn't meet the requirement?
It's not a use. I mean, hosting a festival in an area that allows agriculture and residences is a commercial. It is a
Yeah,
commercial
so like a
endeavor.
festival, when I think of festival, I think like somebody has booked like half a dozen bands and it's gonna be going like all day, all night, and like
Yeah.
1,000 people.
That's only one kind of festival. We are leaving out all kinds of other things. Somebody decides to have a weekend event about land conservation, and it's gonna be one lecturer after another and roundtable. Let's not just limit this to parties and fun and music. That's what we're talking about, getting back to definitions and statement of purpose. And a big statement of purpose that Greg just said, we have to keep reminding, it is enabling, it's an enabling law.
Does sound.
We don't currently allow, and you're talking.
Well, yeah, because.
Well, I'm using that as an example, is that it came about because somebody was holding a festival on their property and the town had to, issue a notice of violation and possibly take them to court. They'd have a misdemeanor. And spend thousands of taxpayer dollars just to process it.
And that example doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because that does feel like exactly what this law would be about, is when you invite like thousands of people to one property.
Yeah.
It wasn't just invite, but
Well, yeah, you sell tickets to thousands.
We're gonna work on this. Why don't you do what you were suggesting? Send it to Greg.
I just want to finish the thought about why is it 90 days? It could be reduced maybe to 60. The Board of Zoning Appeals meets once per month. So the thought is, okay, let's say they meet on the the end of the month. So if somebody submits for a permit at the end of the month, we can't schedule them possibly till that next month. Maybe the board needs to take 2 meetings to review it, because they review it, then they might schedule a public hearing. Now you're 60 days out. Giving 90 days just allows a little bit more breathing room. And if you're planning a large enough event, that you should be thinking a little bit further down the road from this, where you're selling tickets or having camping.
I completely agree with that. If you're planning an event that would require a permit, that 90 days isn't that long for you to do it. It just seems like it's not appropriate to permit events for like 400 people, because you're not gonna have 90 days of notice to have 400 people out. I mean, I don't know. I think like 5, 6, 7, 800 people is more appropriate to have. 90 days notice.
Tyler, I heard you say that. It's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people.
I mean, it's one thing for them to have that many people come in and out, because an event like at your farm is not everybody showing up all at once, like Iron
Well,
Kettle or something.
yeah, it's not all simultaneous in this law. This is, I mean, right? Am I misreading that? It's like if you have 400 people over the course of a day, and like there's never more than 30 people there, that's 400 people.
Oh.
That's how this law is written.
This sounds like it needs more review, and we're working on it.
Yeah.
One last thing I'll just say before I go back and sit down is that one thing, I mean, so Ulysses law, which is a lot of this was modeled off Ulysses. I talked to them about grassroots and things like that, and kind of looked at their law. They just talk about traffic generation of more than 50 vehicles, period. So they don't talk about attendees. I think we initially had 50 cars or more, and then there was a comment from the board or public that a year ago or 2 years ago, whenever we started drafting this, that said, why not also add a number threshold in there? So, if it should go back to generation of traffic being a trigger, or if it's number of people being a trigger, I think it sounds like it's still up for
Something to
debate.
consider.
Yeah.
But keep in mind that the trigger in the first place is that it exceeds that which is otherwise allowed in the zoning.
That's right.
So, customary residential activity covers the things like the occasional graduation party or wedding. That's customary that you have that on your property. It's not customary to have a festival. And it would be, I would regard it as customary again, it's going to come to now, what's the definition of agriculture, but, the for a farm to have agritourism type events, or, you know, is within the scope of what zoning would allow as customary agricultural activity.
Yeah.
So, and not a special event,
Right.
but, and, you know, again, you know, of course, the commercial one, like Southfield cider, but not just Southfield cider. If it's commercial and it's a regularly occurring thing, and you're used to dealing with it, and you know how to handle the traffic and all these other things that are concerned when you have a special event, then why should we have a special event? You know, it isn't necessarily something we're concerned about or want to enable.
Right.
You should be able to do it anyway.
Right.
But what we're trying to get at is the things that exceed those things that are not normal, that are festival-like.
Right.
And it is important to define, what do we mean? So, you know, so maybe we should revisit maybe take the 100 out and just say, you know, a bunch of cars, I mean, we have to worry about traffic and the impacts of that. We obviously need work on it, and how we want to change it is not obvious to me, at least at this point. How do we go from where we are to where we would like to be in terms of something that we're willing to revisit and consider?
Environmental protections.
There's that is a big piece, but it really also does come down to like just health and like safety
Yes.
about movement of people and traffic.
Yeah.
And I'm concerned about the safety of the people that are there.
Right, no, yeah,
Guaranteeing that
yeah,
the food
that's part of
is
it.
not bad,
Yeah, yeah.
guaranteeing that they do have porta potties, make sure people don't go and poop in the yard, which is what happened with the neighbor's yard here down on Gunderman Road some time ago, quite a few years ago, but they did
Okay.
on the neighbor's property.
Um,
All of those things are important.
So I'm hearing three things, I think, that all seem like really good targets for this law, which are the safety of everybody involved, the ability of the neighbors to enjoy their day without being, you know, enjoy their day outside of the event and not being a part of the event and still enjoying their normal day. And then environmental protections would be the third one. That
So those are all things within the scope of, you know, when the permit is triggered, then these are the things that it's concerned about.
Yeah.
And the other important thing is, what's the trigger? You know, we need clarity on that point, you know, what do we mean by a special event? What exceeds normal activity for commercial property, for residential property? Those things need clarity.
I think one of the
definitions.
One of the tricky things for me is I have different opinions on what I want the law to do depending on that attendee thing, you know? If that number's too low, then there are certain things that I don't think are appropriate. If that number's higher, then there's certain things, I guess a law for a gathering of 200 people shouldn't be exactly the same as a law for a gathering of 2,000 people. I think that those are fundamentally different gatherings and they have different effects, and that you shouldn't deal with them with one size law because they're two different. I
So
think
what
a
you're
gathering of
suggesting
100
is that-
too close to a gathering of 4 and too far from a gathering of 1,000.
Right, so you're suggesting there ought to be sort of stages or levels of permitting once you,
Maybe 2 tiers.
once you reach the trigger. Yeah, we have to basically define what's normal and what's more. If it's more, then perhaps we can treat, you know, if it's only a little bit more, then we'll treat it one way, and if it's a great deal more, then we'll treat it in a different way. I don't know whether that's worth doing or not, but that's kind of what you're
That
suggesting.
is what I guess I'm thinking of.
Probably not worth doing, especially if you're the history of the county. Is that nothing happens more than what? 500 or something.
I don't know that that's
seems
accurate.
silly.
Okay, well, we have some
Grassroots, right?
Yeah,
I
and I
don't necessarily think
call
that
around
numbers
other towns
correct.
too, and
Yeah,
I don't know if,
information
I mean,
from-
What's the process going to be? How do we get there from here?
The process of,
How do we go about revising it? In other words, we do want to assign Greg with the task of taking suggestions and coming up with something that somehow magically incorporates all the concerns that have been expressed. And
Not yet.
Maybe
I
Greg
would
with some help.
have Greg look for more information and provide them. And then we can give feedback on that, the same as we were doing for the room law, which nobody has sent me anything yet.
Okay. Is that agreeable? So we're assigning Greg a researching task.
I mean, I can, yeah, it sounds like I'm just going, there's a lot of research still to do. I heard I like your suggestion of creating a chart, right? And list all the people and the property owners in town that might be hosting events like this, how are they impacted by this kind of event? I know that Steve had brought up a committee, maybe of other business owners and things.
Or people supposed to contribute.
We don't know.
contribute.
Right.
Because when you plug them in, but.
Yeah.
That's always a problem when you have to decide whose business
then it's a whole-
has who's allowed to be on this because of whose business, and we
Right,
don't even know all the businesses.
no problem.
It is 8 o'clock, it's time.
Yeah, right.
I can do a little more research
That's okay.
and come back.
Yeah.
Probably not next month, but
Yeah.
maybe the month after.
I'll help with the chart.
Hopefully nobody's having an event in the winter.
Yeah, right.
Plus,
Plus,
ice event? Yeah, that's nice. No. That is pretty cool.
So we are up against our need to extend the meeting.
How much more do we have left?
Oh, fair amount.
What do you mean, when you say a fair amount?
We have the
We've got,
rehab approvals.
Right.
yeah,
and
that's so
then-
quickly, but then we've got the
Additional things,
yeah, the additional, the executive session,
better have a half hour.
the feasibility initiating annual charge in Beasley Lane will go fairly quick, I think. We may not need the update on stuff sometimes, but.
No.
Yeah.
So
Probably
let's just stay another half hour, but we don't have to use it all.
Right.
Okay. So that's a motion?
Yeah.
I'll second it. Mariah?
Connors,
Yeah.
Hunter,
Yes.
Stein,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes,
Gagnon.
Yes.
Thank you.
Could you do the
Before we-
executive session last?
I have to make a quick run. Right.
you understand that?
35 minutes.
Could you do the executive session last?
Let's see.
For
Did everybody read the rehab approvals?
the,
CDBG? Yeah, I looked at them.
yeah. That's a long. Yeah.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
That chat does seem to be growing. It was 7 last time I looked. What do we do
Yeah,
about
well,
all
yeah,
this?
we need to not have it on there.
Right.
What do we do about it? Like, did somebody,
Huh?
since we haven't disabled it, should we? look at it or
We
something?
did used to have it disabled.
Well, I just mean, it's not disabled now.
Well, they're having their own little meeting.
Should we know
It is,
whether-
chat is disabled. You can always use chat to the hosts of the meeting, and that's why you're seeing them.
Good, okay.
Yeah. Just.
So those are directly to Joel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's actually directly to town of Danby, which is the host.
Gotcha. Mysterious.
You
I
could,
wonder if,
however-
anybody else
could,
see them?
however-
Does anyone read them out loud?
Yeah, you could disable
No.
display of the chat on the screen if you wanted to. That's not the only way to do it.
Oh, I thought you said don't do it. Oh, okay.
Different folks, yeah. Oh, I guess they don't see,
Okay.
like, they have some planning.
I'm just so curious, like somebody tried to
See it
say,
there?
if there's 12 chats, I don't know who they're from.
Oh, yeah.
That doesn't sound like a great response to me. I don't know. That doesn't strike me as the way to do it. Maybe I don't understand, but like, I mean, there's chat.
Okay, we're
Are
ready.
you interested in those?
Sorry
chats?
about that.
CDB research.
Chats right there?
Well, we'll have to,
That's
The
not.
chat is not supposed to be part of the meeting.
right,
Got it.
right, so we'll figure that out.
Where were we? CDBG. There are
We do have
three
Two
properties.
separate motions for them, or is one for
We
both?
can make one for everybody.
Move we approve the rehab for 6 Jersey, West Jersey Hill Road and 572 Nelson Road and 1055 Coddington
I'll
Road.
second that.
Okay. Any discussion? Trust everybody's had a chance to review them.
I think it's nice that in some ways, I feel like this is keeping some of those properties off of that list.
Correct.
So I think,
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. We should have more money.
Things like
Go
that.
ahead.
Big
Okay.
part of the cycle.
Are we gonna vote?
Yep, okay, Mariah.
Connors,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes.
Stein,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon.
Yes.
Thank you.
We're gonna save the executive session for last because people have to hang around.
Correct.
The feasibility of the annual charge. You recall that, drainage district was established. The expectation on the part of the residents was that we would initiate the annual charge starting, soon.
Yep.
Did you see, pass it around?
There was a question, right, well, why don't we do it this year? And there was some doubt that it could be done, so Greg asked Jay Franklin, what do we need to do to make this happen? And Greg said, well, all you need to do is tell us what property is going to include. We already provided for how it's going to happen, so it can happen this year. That we begin this assessment, annual assessment for improving and maintaining that drainage district.
So is it something that's gonna happen every October?
Yeah.
So the year will be October.
Well, as part of our budget process, just like we do for the water district, we have the drainage district, and we'll be, it's organized slightly differently. In the water district, you've got, district operating expenses that are distributed on the basis of property value. This district is set up so that it's based on the units.
Right.
Each property pays the same regardless of the valuation of the property. That's the way it was proposed and agreed to. So each of the 22 properties
Right.
will have a bill for the same $309.
Right, $109.
As part of the special assessment.
So, and they'll get that bill every October?
No, they'll get it in January along with the rest of it. It's part of their property tax bill.
Okay.
Yeah, it does in the water district, have a water district line, and those, the rest of the town doesn't see. Those in that district will get that special district assessment
So do we think they
Moving it
know
now
it's
to
coming
start
in
in
January?
26.
with the 26 bill, yeah.
Yeah, right, okay.
It might be worth, I'm happy to put together a letter and just say, here,
Coming.
it's coming.
Yeah.
The only thing though about the method of assessment for the following years, this might be, we'd have to just talk with Jay how this happens. The way that the district formation was set up was that's the charge for the first year. Basically, the town got this escrow amount, and in order to cover what the engineer thinks it would cost to maintain these stormwater ponds, it costs $309 per lot for the first year. For all the following years, it says that the calculated charge in subsequent years will be a reimbursement for actual maintenance activities of the preceding year. The town will track all maintenance activities for labor and equipment and annually adjust the total amount to be raised from the district. It's a little bit tricky. It's not just 309 from here on out. It's
No, it's not. It was intended to be a changeable amount reflecting the actual cost of providing the maintenance. What I didn't remember that language that basically says it's going to be based on recovering that previous year's work.
Yeah.
How you're supposed to float the boat if you don't have a kitty with which to conduct the work.
Town fund.
Well, they're collecting money now. If we do this now, the first year they have the $309 for that year.
Yeah, but the $309 was based on an estimate by the engineer of what it would cost to make the
Initial improvements.
Yeah, the initial improvements and, and routine maintenance to bring it to the sort of a starting place.
Right.
And that was several years ago, so that if we may have trouble getting it done for that price. But at least gives us, and if the highway does it, they can at least they can always say, well, we'll stop at that amount because that's all the money we've got. I don't think there's a provision, maybe Laura can answer this question if she's still here, for us to be able to transfer from the general fund to a special district, we expect to be able to get it back again when reimbursable later.
I know that we are allowed to transfer money between funds out of the general fund. I know we could transfer, say, money out of the general fund to the highway or money out of the general fund to the water district. You are allowed, and we're also allowed to make loans to those funds. As
Yeah.
far as a special district like that, I'm not sure. I would have to look that up and to see what that's about. My question is, we had some escrow amount. Where did that original escrow amount come from?
From the developers.
Yeah.
So the developers had put up some escrow dollars into this. Okay, so were those escrow amounts intended to be sitting there for maintenance of these ponds?
Yeah, so supposedly, according to this report, as of 2021, the town retains $4,177 in an escrow account that will be applied to the first year maintenance. And then this $309 charged to those 22 lots will be $6,793. And that's a combined for $10,970. That's what the estimated cost to maintain for the first year of maintenance for these ponds. Maybe how we can do it for less than that, but this is just what the engineer had estimated then. So yeah, supposedly there's an escrow account out there.
Yeah.
My thought is, knowing with the law and some of the things that can happen, that we're allowed, that I would think, but I'm just saying I would think, I don't know. I'll have to look at that. That the board could pass by resolution. The same way that they could if you remember when there was, had something going on with the park and you were able to put money up front for the park in the event of getting it back, either by a grant or whatever, but that the board could pass a resolution to front those funds and then get that money back. So in essence, if you guys were to front that money, say for the actual expenses, anything else above from what you're reading, anything above the $4,000 that we had sitting in escrow that was supposed to go to that would be what would end up being on the 2027 taxes.
We're not proposing that we delay implementation, and that's the point of this, being on the agenda, is to say that we can do it this year to do the 309. What we're talking about now is what happens in the subsequent year, because the way it's drafted, it says that you're going to recover what you from the previous year. So I say, well, how in the heck are we going to have the money to do it so that you can recover?
But we don't have any expenses from the previous year, so I'm not sure if you would know how much
we will in 27, when we're planning for 27. So this is the first round, but the only question is, where's the money going to come from for the next year if it's based on what we're supposed to be based on what happened in the previous year? And if we in fact can front the money, as you say, Laura, if we can front the money and basically lend it to them, and then they'll pay it back with the assessment for that year, that would work. But I guess we need to look into that. But it's not.
Yeah, that would be basically what that is saying. So if the town put up the $6,000 on top of the $4,000 because you're estimating it's going to cost $10,000 or thereabouts, a little bit more, a little bit less, and the town fronted that money, then you'd have a total dollar amount outside of the escrow amount that you could go ahead and put on the taxes for next year.
But we don't need to do that, and that we can do this, which is already provided for the first year.
Maybe we just worry about the next year.
Exactly, we'll worry about the next year. How we fund it in subsequent years, we need to find out. But
which is kind of stated in the wording that Greg was just. If we're going by the wording that Greg was just.
Yeah, and so the details of how it happens, we need to work on. But what I'm saying, this is basically, I'm just reporting to you that.
I think you and I are saying the same things. We're just saying it a little different way.
So the process of setting up a district and
it's already done.
Billing,
yeah,
it's all the billing and everything else.
Yeah.
Is all. It's gonna.
It plugs into the normal process.
Okay.
I just need to let Jay know, I just want to bring it
So
to
Jay
that.
will-
Jay said, you know, all I need,
Fine.
I need a list of the 22 properties. We already have how much each one's gonna get
Okay,
built.
so
That'll get us to
Jay
this
will
year.
do it.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's actually 308 and 70.
Whatever it is, yeah,
Okay.
right, yeah, rounded to
I
the
didn't-
nearest dollar, 309, but anyway, it, you know,
Yeah, and then we can figure out next year's, we can,
yeah, we're ready to make the first move, basically.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think they should get a warning.
yeah, I'm fine to put in
Yeah.
a courtesy letter, and I can
Yeah.
even, you know, attach this and just say, remember, a few years
Yeah.
ago, town did this.
Yeah.
Nobody objected,
Yeah.
public hearing, it's a legal document, here's what it's gonna be on your tax. bill.
We're moving, right, exactly.
Yeah.
They've never paid this yet.
You've not paid it,
Yeah,
no.
right,
This is the first year district charge.
right.
Okay.
So that's just to let you all
Year
know that
4.
that's, we can do it and we will.
All right.
Let's see. We talked enough about Southfield cider in,
Yeah,
do you want to know about any of that? You know, Greg and I met with 3 attorneys from the Ag and Markets. And had a discussion about, you know, what they're willing to do
Mhm.
and what they're not willing to do. And the end of that discussion was, that, they mentioned, as we knew, basically, by the time we got to that meeting, that they don't normally get involved unless it's at the request of a farmer that's defending
Right.
him or herself from an action by the municipality to enforce some law that they think is unreasonable. And they ask Ag Market to get involved, Ag Markets get involved
Right.
and makes a determination. They did say that, you know, they offered to mediate in the event that we wanted to have them act as in sort of an interpreter for you know, with Steve's cooperation. It all requires Steve's cooperation. Steve's willing to cooperate. They're willing to provide sort of a mediation with, so we talk with the town to get clarity on what do we mean, you know, that by agriculture in his situation. Steve himself did not ask for that from them. He asked them to review the special events law and the noise law. We had asked Ag and Markets to review the special events law because we thought it was fairly close to something we'd be willing to consider. But they said, well, they'll do the other one too. But you didn't ask them to review the operation. But our discussion with them said, well, would you review the operation? You know, and they basically said, well, not normally it's at the request of in response to,
Right.
you know, but you know, we will mediate if you want to do that. You know, that's an option if Steve wants to go that route to get clarity on that point. We had a discussion really this morning with Steve, the 2 of us, about you know, what he's done so far, what he's really looking to do, and we shared I shared the thought that I've been exploring as a result of a conversation I had with Mark, which was a really good one, I thought. He suggested, well, should we entertain the possibility of creating a planned development zone for this property? And as you know, a planned development zone is a rezoning, so it's a town board action. And when you rezone, you can put whatever you want in zone regulations. Well, why would you want to do that? Well, you would do it to provide clarity regarding what's allowed and what isn't allowed. You know, you recall we had very strict guidelines for what was allowed in the Gunderman Road thing when it was operating as a textile manufacturing facility. The reason I didn't think that was a reasonable suggestion when I first heard it was that, you know, we cannot enable a planned development zone, put whatever we want in the planned development zone, but we cannot on that property enable something more than an agricultural activity, because that's all that's allowed for in the conservation easement. So that the conservation easement acts as an overall constraint on what can do. But then thinking about it a little bit, it's like, well, that's true. But what about if we defined what is permissible within that envelope of what is a permissible activity on that zone? If we stayed within an agricultural activity, as you know, Ag and Markets defines it, Steve could, and with, in cooperation with, negotiation with the neighbors, define what that means on that property. To say, this is what this agricultural operation is going to be in this zone that we're creating specifically for it. What would be the benefit of that? It would give clarity both to Steve, so, it gives him the a better definition of what he's allowed to do without being hassled. And it would give the neighbors clarity as well, because they would know what he's allowed to do within the scope of a planned development zone. I shared that thought. Steve responded, at least in part, with a probing the possibility of expanding the definition of what is considered to be agriculture in Danby, so that it could be applied to that zone. And of course, the problem with that is that whatever if we, and we could do this, I talked with Greg about this later in the day. We essentially rely on Ag and Market's definition of agriculture as our definition of agriculture, so that when we say in our zoning, in the conservation easement, customary agricultural use, we mean what Ag and Markets means. We could, and the town of Ithaca does this, for instance, define what agriculture in Danby means. And as long as that definition is not more restrictive than what Ag and Markets allows for, it's consistent with law. But it is possible to define agriculture in ways that have introduced some specificity and regulations that correspond to the different kinds of agriculture. A cidery or distillery or winery might have different constraints, if you will, than a dairy operation. Something that involves agritourism, or a lot of generates a lot of traffic, and anyway, Ithaca does this. They have different categories of things that are defined, or not. But the principle is it admits of the possibility of defining something as more than what Ag and Markets would defend. And whether we would want to do that, we'd want to think very carefully about it, because whatever we would say is more, would it be more anywhere in the town of Danby and not just on Steve's property?
But what I thought you just said, specific, a few minutes ago.
Mhm.
You said it would only be there, so now you're saying it would apply other places in Danby also?
Limiting two different pieces.
These two things, the
I'm talking
planned
about different
development
things.
zone,
Wait, okay, I can't handle any more than,
the planned development zone.
right, I know,
It's separate. He's talking about something different than that.
I thought we were still on the PDZ.
No,
We are and we aren't. I mean, the question, what the question rose was whether or not the expansion, whether or not we would be willing to expand the definition of agriculture.
Period, you mean?
Yeah.
Big, all,
Well,
that's what I.
So if we could go to the route of saying, here's what agriculture means in Danby. And it means, right now we're saying it means what Ag and Market says it means. We could be specific and say, it means that, and it means more. It means an event venue. We could do that if we wanted to. Whether we would want to or not, we want to be careful about it, because it's going to apply everywhere in Danby, not just on that property.
Okay, well, do we need to think about whether or not we want to do that? I mean.
Yeah.
I would need to do
I mean-
a lot of educating myself to
I mean,
feel like I was of the appropriate person
Yeah.
to expand. the
But anyway, that's
definition.
kind of where we are with it. The other thing that was shared,
Last time that we spent a lot of time on PDZs had to do with getting rid of the
Right.
PDZs, that one weren't being used, that whatever.
and they weren't defined properly.
And one of the things that was drilled into my head was that the town shouldn't consider PDZs unless it's an activity or a use that the town wants to have happen there.
yeah,
I'm not just talking South
Yeah.
Cider.
yeah.
But, it's not that, Susie Q wants us to have her property be a PDZ so she can, I don't know, have pigs or something.
Right.
It's the town is like, we want this to happen here, because it's not allowed or given the zoning.
Right.
But we're gonna do this to make it happen.
Right.
So we need to decide, that to me, that needs to be decided.
Right.
For-
And it's a town board action, whether or not to do it.
What?
It's a town board action, whether or not to
Right.
do it.
Right.
So,
Right.
it's out there as an idea, because the advantages of it would be, it would add clarity.
Or maybe there's some other way.
Whether we want,
Add clarity could be.
right, and we talked about that a little bit too, because the other
Okay.
ways are the things that are on the table. There's that law, noise law. That also bear on the issues that are relevant, and site plan review for agricultural activity.
That would be,
All those things are possible tools instead of, or in addition to.
okay.
The other thing that was mentioned in that conversation was what their concerns were with our special event law. And that was with the limit of 4 per year that's in that law. But that was addressed by Guy's suggestion that a series could be included with one event.
Oh, yeah, right.
Well, that wasn't really clear in the language of the law because it wasn't our intent in the first place.
Would you need to know all the dates and all the booking information for a series?
I presume, yes.
So you'd need to have your whole season scheduled out, although
Okay.
you could do 4 of those per year. So
Yeah.
you wouldn't have to have,
How much
you'd
time
have to
do
have
we
like one.
Like you have a concert series of the
How
summer.
much
You
time do we
We
have?
have 3 minutes.
Oh, we got 3 minutes.
We have executive
There's
session.
one more thing, and it's the executive session, and we're almost to the point where we can have an executive session, but simply closing the public session. Without having to go anywhere, if you just ask
So,
Zach to step out of the room. Yeah. So, we will come back out of the session, but we can shut off the audio.
Easy for your signature whenever you're done.
Oh, this place.
Lunch.
Um,
Don't you need to vote to go into executive session in public? With the audio on?
So, Joel, I think we need to pass a resolution to enter executive session.
what we're doing.
Yeah, but.
Well, we're
muted.
muted.
I didn't realize I had already clicked.
You didn't-
Sorry.
That's my bad.
That's right. Go ahead, Joel.
The motion is to go into executive session to discuss this property negotiation, and to extend the meeting long enough for that to happen. We'll be
Very
back.
Good. Second, who seconded it?
Second.
Hunter, very good.
Because they need to vote on it.
Ready?
Yep.
Connors,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes.
Crazy.
Stein,
Ice cream. I mean, yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so now, put this on purpose.
She just said text her when we're done.
Oh, okay.
So I texted her that.
Okay.
Is she finished with her dessert yet?
No.
Was her.
Dessert? I don't know if you noticed.
That may be dinner.
I had salad. Thank you very much.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, you should have enjoyed some sweets with everyone else.
Lunch, right?
I had no cookies. Nobody brought me cookies.
Jim had one.
Hey,
So
Yes.
we are back.
Very good.
And we'd like to make a motion.
Let's, well, I don't know how to say it. I'll let you.
I move that we authorize the purchase of the property at the appraised value.
I'll second that.
You're still in executive session.
We have to vote to come out of executive session?
Yeah, technically.
Do we have to vote to come out of executive
Technically,
session? Because
yeah.
we're not, you have to come out of executive session, you have to vote to come out of executive session?
Yes.
That
So
seems,
hurry up to it.
doesn't make any sense, really.
We come out of
I'll
executive
second
session.
that.
yeah,
Yes.
Nah.
What? Okay,
It's because you're not allowed to take any actions while you're in executive session, so you have to get out of
You
it.
know that,
Yeah,
that's why I said
you know
we're
that,
we're
Ted.
back, we're out of executive session, but
Mariah's asking what's it, what we've
okay,
got.
I'm sorry. So you're gonna leave executive session. Who
Yeah.
moved that? Woodward?
I second it. Yep, and I second it.
Second did it. Very good. Connors,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes,
Stein,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes,
Gagnon.
yes.
Excellent. Now
So
you're
the-
going,
Still don't think we needed to do it because we
Well,
can't.
you
don't
do
worry
need
about
to.
it. Let's go
Yes, you
on.
do.
I motioned to undo that last.
No, no, you do.
okay,
How can you vote?
We have to vote to end the executive session.
Okay.
because otherwise it just stays the same thing, but let's do your.
Anyway, we did
Do
it.
your motion.
All right, so now,
Right.
now that we're out of executive session, I make the motion that we accept the, we purchase the property at the, at the appraised value.
I'll second that.
okay,
Offer to.
Connors,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes,
Stein,
Yes.
Woodworth,
yes.
Gagnon.
Yes. And with that, I believe we have finished that which was ours to do this evening,
Yes.
and we can adjourn the meeting.
What was the appraised value?
26.
$50,000.
Yeah.
100,000.
26,000. That was stated in the meeting earlier, before we went into executive session.
I don't think it was, but anyway,
Oh, okay.
anyway,
It's not
26.
super.
More than I expected.
yeah.
Yes, good
Bye.
night.
Good night.
Good
night,
all.
Jen?
Oh. Yeah,
Yeah, there it
so
is.
I wonder if this should go in the code enforcement folder.
Definitely dinner time.